Hello, and welcome to the Game Informer Show. I am your host, Andy McNamara. Today on the show, I'm joined by Andy Reiner.
Hello.
Joe Juba.
Hi.
Alex Stadnick is in the box.
Hello, friends.
How you doing? I know
Good.
everyone. So we got a show today.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna start it. We're starting this on Monday, and we're gonna go through a couple things here. So first of all, you guys are here. We're gonna talk Life is Strange 2.
Cool.
And then we're going to do something which I went back and forth on, and I'd love to hear your feedback on, which was, I was like, do we do this thing for the Game Awards? Which is, this podcast will come out on Thursday. The Game Awards will happen Thursday night. And we decided to do this, which is that when I go to Game Awards, and when I've gone to Game Awards for forever, we like to gamble on who we think is going to win. So everyone picks who they think is going to win, and then we all throw like $1 in, and then as the night goes on and you scream and yell as the things happen, then eventually you have a victor, and it's a lot of fun. And I've played this game with all kinds of crazy people. I've dominated this sport and been dominated in this sport. So, but it is fun, and we're going to do that. Even though for some people, if you listen to the podcast later, the awards will have already happened. You'll already know the answers, but you can at least look back and look at the dumb reasoning that we went through as to why we thought something was going to win. So that's going to be the next segment, which should be fun.
I like it.
And then we're going to follow that up with community emails once again. And then finally, we're going to do part 5 of our Game of the Year talks, which are nearing the end. I think we're going to get maybe one more in, and then maybe 2, but we're getting to the end. So that it's been exciting. I even looked at the list just this morning. I was like, man, there's still some great games we have not discussed yet. And so I'm still looking forward to that talk. And during that talk too, we're going to be able to have our intern group in and hear some thoughts from them and how things have been going with them. So that's kind of wrapped into that section there. And that's going to be a show. And I'm going to try to get it under 3 hours this week, but let's just see. Let's just see if that's possible.
You're already at 2 minutes.
I know. Well,
Hey, pick it up, man.
I know. I've been very clear. I'm not good at this. So let's just move on. So, Life is Strange 2. So I'm gonna put this out here. I have just always bounced off them, right? So like Life is Strange 2, if you ask me as we start this conversation, I'm like, so it's the sequel to Life is Strange 1, and the character continues on, which is, I know obviously is wrong, right?
Yeah,
So it is called Life is Strange 2, but it's all new.
It's all new. Yep. It takes place within the same universe, so there are some like callbacks and nods,
Powers.
and some characters crossover, like minor things that I'm not going to spoil anything about those, but I mean,
There's some cameos that you're saying.
Yeah, it's clearly the same universe, but it's new characters, new story, new magic power stuff going on.
Similar technology.
Yeah, except I mean, it's the last ones originally came out on the last generation, I believe. So it's it runs a little smoother than you might remember, but
It's not stuck in like every game looking like The Walking Dead, like Telltale. It's
no, but I mean it looks. I would say the visuals are not the selling point for this game,
Okay.
right? I mean it's a lot more. It's a lot more about they take sort of a stylized approach, visuals, and then with a great soundtrack too to establish a lot. It's a lot more about like establishing an atmosphere than it is rendering. Like very.
It's a good way to put it.
Very accurate.
They look
visuals.
good.
Yeah, they look good.
The
Yeah.
games look good, just,
Yeah.
they're not graphical juggernauts, right?
But that said, I mean, I have not played the games, but from every single person that has, Don't Nod is obviously next level with their narrative work.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. And where Don't Nod, so like they worked on Don't Nod was Life is Strange, the original one.
Yes.
Then it was a different studio, Deck 9, that did the prequel to the original Life is Strange called Before the Storm. Now we're back to Don't Nod for Life is Strange 2.
Oh, wait, there's the Captain
Spirit,
Yeah.
which is a prequel to Life is Strange 2, also by Don't Nod.
Gotcha.
And
All
that's
right.
that's a free demo that I would recommend playing before Life is Strange 2.
Gotcha. So there's some callbacks to that
Yeah.
that are of value.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
So all right. So they're good. Technology solid. Tell me about what's the basis of the story. Who am I playing and why?
So the basis of the story, again, there's things really kick off at the end of the first episode. You sort of get a sense of what this story is going to evolve into. So I don't want to spoil too much of that, apart from saying the thrust of it is that you control one brother named Sean Diaz, and the other brother is Daniel Diaz, who's the younger one. So Sean is like 15, Daniel's like 9, and they end up sort of being off off on the run, having to live, like having to be on the run, live off the grid.
Yeah, troubles at home.
Yeah.
It is kind of the big beat the drum they bang at the beginning, and then
That's the lesson we're learning or driving home to some degree over the 5 episodes, right? 5?
It's 5 episodes, but I mean, those are all out right now. So
Yeah.
one of the reasons we're talking about it now more in depth is because the final episode came out on December 3rd, so like last week.
the first one came out last year.
Yeah, the first episode came out last September. So like over the course of over a year, they've been releasing it, but now the whole thing is done and you can play it start to finish.
Which, I'm going to derail the conversation here for a second, which is
Yeah,
one of
yeah,
those
yeah.
things, like some people like episodic gaming.
Do they?
Some people, see, I knew
I do,
You,
yeah.
you didn't let me ask the question yet, Joe, but you definitely showed your card there, which is what I was going to, which was that, and some people don't. And I think, Joe, in this particular case, you waited until all the episodes were out because you didn't want to be annoyed
Yeah.
with waiting to go there, including episode 1, right? Like you didn't play episode 1 last September.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the last 2 weeks, I played all 5 episodes of Life is Strange, and the review's up on the site now.
Yeah, episodic gaming, when done right, like I think the first season of The Walking Dead, where people would start talking after each episode, like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Like we do with The Mandalorian every week, right? Like there's the game is made better or the show's made better by that week of discussions where there's this anticipation. But where episodic gaming goes wrong is when the time between episodes gets to a point where you can't even remember what you saw
Right.
or what you played. And I think that's what happened with Life is Strange too. If there's one big knock against it, man, they took their time with this one.
Yeah.
I would argue, I'm going to go side with Joe here a little bit, is that like no one has done episodic gaming right where you can do it by. I think that's the problem with that. You're right that Netflix maybe took us down this path where we were like getting whole shows at once. And by
Yeah.
the way, I think there is still a world where we need to get some shows are just not talkers. You need to let me sit down and like blast through it. And there are other shows. I'm not watching The Mandalorian, but like I'm watching The Watchmen, which I like that I get it every week. It gives me a chance to think about it. I'm all in for that. I do think episodic gaming could maybe do that, but I tend to feel like the gaming space, maybe it's because we're journalists and we deal with it and think, but like if you give me a chance to bounce off a game, which is essentially like play to a point and stop and let me find another sparkly thing to do the total like squirrel, like find another thing and get obsessed by it, I will. Right. And so that's my problem a lot of times with episodic gaming is that I would have to wait till now to do something like this because I'll lose interest.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say by and large, though, most of those Telltale series didn't have that same allure. But that first season of Walking Dead, like we were like counting the days till that next episode would hit, right? But maybe there is a middle ground there where they keep making these games where it's like taking in player reactions and like feedback from episode to episode to shape the next episode. Why not just make a 5-episode, 10-episode series, finish it, and then release them weekly? If you want to pull people in and have them paying $5 a pop, you could do it that way.
But I'd rather just buy it all.
Maybe buy the whole season.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know.
I don't know.
From a development perspective, I'm sure there's an argument to be made about, improvements that you can make from one episode to the next. Like you can take feedback into account to improve interactions with, different things. I mean, I get that that's a thing you can do.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like those changes are never apparent enough to justify to me the wait between those episodes.
And I'll say this, I like it, but I don't think it's been done super well outside of that one example. Like I do see the hook of it, but
And for me, the other big issue with it, though, is that when you release things episodically, I think you invite a level of like assessment and criticism that you wouldn't normally be getting.
Yeah,
I think of certain episodes of Life is Strange 2, for instance, that if I had to review them separately, it's like, well, this is all I've got. This like 3 or 4 hour chunk is all I have, so I need to dig deep on the plot developments, dig deep on the characters here in this 2 hour or in this 3 or 4 hour window of time, versus acknowledging that that's just one little piece of a whole.
Yeah, it's like interview or review act 2.
Yeah.
okay, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? But like without the things that come from Act 1, or maybe you make Act 2 different to try to make it have a more distinct arc in there, and that's what concerns me, is that you do a disservice to the development of a character, to the development of gameplay, because you are having to like create these moments that sit on their own, right?
Yeah.
And I've definitely played an episodic, I think maybe Wolf Among Us had a couple where I was just like, well, I did that. Do you know what I mean? And because it did have to end in that kind of time frame, I was like, this is kind of turning me off. I did end up finishing that one, but I mean, I had to like will my way through it. Whereas like if I would have been like trying to get to the good part and then got to the good part, not that the other parts aren't good, but just a different style,
Yeah.
you change the way you make things for those kind of pieces, right? Movie versus TV show.
Yeah,
Right.
I think so. So looping this back around to the discussion of Life is Strange 2, I think that as a larger story, I think it is so much better served playing it just start to finish rather than than an episodic format, because there are little parts where the story drags, but because you can get through them and get to the next bit where it gets good, like where it gets more engaging again, it doesn't weigh on you in the same way that it might otherwise. So I should even go back a little further to Andy's question about like what it is.
Yeah.
Because I think what really sets this game apart, it's so easy to say, hey, this is a narrative-focused game. It's all about player choice. People are familiar with that format by now. They're familiar with that from Life is Strange, from Telltale stuff that we were talking about. What I think makes Life is Strange 2 special is the way it integrates that second character. So you as Sean, it's less about how you as Sean are making decisions for yourself and more about how those decisions shape Daniel's behavior. Because this is where the sort of mystical power element comes into it, is he has a telekinetic power that you discover in the first episode. And so there's no like time rewinding like there was in the original Life is Strange. It's all about this. But you, as a character, as Sean, don't have direct access to it. It's Daniel's power. So it's more about how you steer him towards how he does use it or doesn't use it. Do you, like, if you use it, do you get out of a tight spot? Do you attract too much attention to yourselves? Does that come back to bite you down the road? And so you sort of see this like slow building of a personality for Daniel under your guidance, how he behaves in certain situations based on a broader web of choices, rather than, I feel like in a lot of choice-driven games, you see they're like, well, I made this decision here and it's very easy to follow the line to here is the consequence.
Yeah. Well, it's also, I mean, it sounds to me, which you can correct me here, is that it's like you're making family decisions. And there can be dissent from other members of the family as you make those decisions, and like who they affect and how they affect everyone in that group, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, it's just Sean and Daniel. It's just,
I know, but I mean, they're family.
Yeah, right. But it's just, it's the two brothers on the road, and there are times when you, as Sean, make a decision that Daniel, depending on the choices that you've made and how you've steered him in previous episodes, even not even the same episode you're in, can influence his personality in such a way that he can disagree with you and will not necessarily, like, the choice you think you're making may not necessarily happen depending on how or if Daniel like intervenes in a situation.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So, which for me, and I know this is like, it's digging deep into the sort of systemic elements of the way choice-driven games work, but I think it's a very interesting approach for someone like me who's very much about optimizing.
Yeah.
You know, so like when I play a game like this, it's really hard for me to detach that sense of I want the best story for me to happen versus this is what I think is the best choice in this situation, right?
Yeah, or in my case, a lot of times in games like this where I hate it when I think I've made a choice and then something else happens based on that choice. You know, like I think like, oh, I'm doing something good here. And you're like, oh, I did something bad. And sometimes when the games don't do that well, it makes me angry at the game.
Yeah, because
Do
it
you know
can
what I
feel
mean?
arbitrary.
Yeah, and that would be impressive. Which is what I'm getting from you here is that if the game is able to lead you down different paths that you chose, and it feel organic and important, is very powerful and hard to do.
Yeah. So after I finished the game, I went and watched the other endings. So for Life is Strange, the original one, there were two. It all culminated in one choice, 2 endings.
Gotcha.
There are 7 endings
wow.
to the second one, and I don't want to say too much about it, other than I watched them, and they are different endings, but I can also see how they would be satisfying or consistent based on the choices that would come before it that would lead you to that ending.
So it's like blue, red, green, yellow.
It's the whole rainbow.
Yeah, it's got a whole rainbow. Yeah, orange.
I mean,
yeah,
it incorporates all the stuff we've been talking about already. It has a lot to do with how you encourage Daniel to interact with the world, and yeah.
So it kind of, I mean, at least I'm reading this from the outside. I mean, is this kind of a superhero tale like kind of thing? Is that kind of comic book?
I love that element of this universe. Is it's very light mutant-like powers that only a few people seem to have, but they're very powerful, right?
And they're very powerful, but they also. One of the complaints about Life is Strange 1 that I read at the time was that they never explained the power. Where does the power come from? What is it all about? And Don't Nod continues that trend here. It's not like they're suddenly.
I don't want them to. Yeah.
It's not like they're suddenly delving deep onto where these powers come from. It's more that's what it just happens.
It's just unique to the situation.
And this is how it ripples out from there. Though I would say this is more a story of 2 brothers and their journey with Daniel's power thrown in as an element to really demand Sean's guidance and intervention, right? Like it's an element that really sort of sparks interaction between the 2 brothers, but it really is more of a story about them and their journey with that thrown in rather than a superhero story.
Gotcha.
Right?
All right.
Yeah.
And they use that also to the powers help make it gamify it a bit.
Yeah. And the power is definitely a part of it, but it sparks questions in your mind like, okay, Daniel and I are on the run, but there's someone who needs help. Should I tell Daniel to use his power to help that person? And then you think about how that affects you in the immediate situation, but then you also have to consider am I encouraging Daniel to use his power sort of on a whim?
Yeah.
And is that going to lead to him doing it later when I don't want him to? And then the cops are going to find us. And so it has you considering things that may pay off hours down the line. And when I got to those points down the line, I did see payoff from those moments. I was like, okay, I've encouraged Daniel to not use his power all the time, and then I see situations in which he's able to show restraint, and that kind of thing is.
Does the game
satisfying.
highlight that, or is it more subtle?
It's not like, well, hey, because you told me this, Sean. It's a lot more of
that would be kind of funny, but it would
no,
be
it's a lot more of just general tapestry of how you guide him. Is generally do you encourage Daniel to sort of follow the rules of society, or do you encourage him to just sort of, forge his own destiny kind of thing?
Yeah.
In those endings, is there kind of a good, bad kind of vibe, or are they all kind of just the same line? You know what I mean? Of leading
Magneto,
to
Professor
a
X.
point. Yeah.
I mean, they are very different endings, but I think that I can only speak to the arc that I followed, right? But I can imagine the other arcs that lead to those other endings, and I think that those choices would make sense.
Have they said one is the true ending if there's going to be a Life is Strange 3, or are they just leaving it open?
I think they're probably leaving it open. That's what they did with the last one too, where
Because then they moved on to
assuming that they tell a
a
different story. So when you start Life is Strange 2, you are asked a question that basically just says, what choice did you make at the end of the original Life is Strange? And that has a couple little nods throughout the story. I don't think it would like drastically change anything. So I can imagine if they're doing that going forward here, there are some questions that you could ask about, like, hey, what happened with Life is Strange 2? That you could answer one or two questions like that. And
did that pay off in any way, by the way, that one question at the beginning of the game? Did you know what that did?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, I don't want to spoil Life is Strange,
Yeah,
1
yeah,
in case
yeah,
anyone's
yeah.
up, but yeah, I mean, I saw at least 2 points throughout the course of of the story that answer came into play.
So, totally kind of stupid question, I guess, overall, but better than the first? First is...
That's really tricky. I think it is more sophisticated than the first. If that's like, I think that the story, like the themes they're trying to do and the way they're telling a story and the way they make players consider their actions and the way they like show those consequences, I think all of that is better done and more interesting. At the same time, there's something to be said for the game that was first out of the gate with it, right?
Yeah.
Like the original Life is Strange came out with that sort of indie guitar, like indie acoustic guitar vibe, long sort of contemplative shots at the environment, and like in terms of the atmosphere for it, along with those characters, I think there's just a novelty with that first one that's going to be hard to beat in my mind.
All right.
But I think in terms of just execution, there's definitely a step forward with Life is Strange 2.
So, Runner, you played the first episode.
First episode last year.
Yeah, that's crazy. But I know whenever it's come up, you've always been like, that one was so good.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, the big moment, there's a big, I don't want to spoil it, but there's a big moment, a big reveal in the first one. That's crazy.
So you're going back, since we were talking a little bit about bouncing
now
off.
that
You'll
it's
be going,
done.
you know?
Yeah, so now that it's done, I'll go back and play it. But this is a case of they took too much time. You know what I mean? So I feel like I got to play that first one again.
Yeah, you definitely should.
To really get it.
So
just picking it up the second one is just going to be weird.
So even though it's a sequel, that it's a different story, different characters, right?
Correct. Yep.
You still would encourage people to go play the first one before?
No, he means the first episode.
Or no, literally like the first season, or like
Life is Strange 1.
I mean, I think if you have not played Life is Strange 1, I highly recommend that game.
It's really good.
You do not need to play it to enjoy Life is Strange 2. What you should play is Captain Spirit. The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit or something. That's a free demo, and the character in that, Chris, reappears throughout the course of at some point during Life is Strange 2.
Well, it's not even a demo.
see
It's
what's
a
going on there.
standalone episode, right? Like a prequel story.
That's really what it. Yeah, calling it a demo is weird because it makes it seem like it's part of it. It is a short
own thing.
Yeah, it's a maybe 90-minute, 2-hour thing. That was my favorite adventure game last year. Actually, like you see again some of Don't Nod's ability to, like deal with interesting characters and interesting problems in ways that you don't always expect.
Because I've been interested. I just don't know where to start with it. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could start. Oh boy, if you are interested in Life is Strange 2, you can just play Captain Spirit and then play Life is Strange 2. And if you like that, go back and try Life is Strange 1.
Yeah, I just think it's a weird thing. Like if you're interested in Life is Strange, you know what I mean? Like just play the first one first.
Yeah,
I don't know why you just go to the second one.
Especially because sometimes those conveniences you get in like a sequel can hinder the first game to some degree. I mean, I'm generalizing here.
I guess all I'm saying is like if someone hears about the story for Life is Strange 2 and they're like,
Yeah.
that sounds like something I want to do, don't feel like you have to do Life is Strange 1 first. If the idea of a sort of low impact, character driven narrative thing that Life is Strange as a franchise does, if that's interesting, yeah, start with Life is Strange 1. But
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys. And it's coming out on Xbox One, PC.
It's out on them.
and
yeah.
PS4, it's out on all
PS4.
those.
It's
yeah.
out on all those platforms. And on not to do the old score thing, but you gave it a score. What'd you give it?
I gave it 8.5.
8.5.
And that's
Nice.
yeah, for the whole thing, not breaking down individual episodes.
What would you have given Act 2?
I'm glad I didn't have to do that.
Well, that's very cool. So check that out. That's out there. thank you guys for coming on and talking Life is Strange 2.
Yeah.
And episodic games in general.
Yeah.
So for if you have any interest in Life is Strange, also the first game is out there. It's probably on sale somewhere too. So maybe if you want to just have a holiday filled with stories, that's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
They're good games.
I really like them.
Yeah. So coming up, let's do some predictions for the Game Awards. Community emails. Remember, send your questions to podcast@gameinformer.com. And also, we'll do part 5 of our Game of the Year talks, and that will be an episode. So hang in there, and we'll be right back with a new panel to talk new things. Excitement, excitement, excitement. See you soon. Hello, and welcome back to the Game Informer Show. I am your host, Andy McNamara. We are about to start a segment about the Game Awards, and with me is Joe Juba.
Hi.
Brian Shea.
Hello.
Ben Reeves.
Hello.
How are you doing? And then still in the box, we have Alex Stadnick.
Hello.
I kind of talked about this in the first segment, but basically, I've been going to a lot of award shows for a lot of years, and one of the things when you're a participant in a Game Awards kind of thing, and this is not dissing any one person's Game Awards, they're kind of boring at times, right? Just doing awards is hard, especially when you're trying to do all this stuff and make it exciting. Like, kudos to Keeley. It's very difficult. I can't imagine how hard it is to try to fill 4 hours and go through all the awards and stuff. It's very tough. So, please don't take it as a rip. I'm just trying to say it's a difficult thing.
Yeah, I've been to the DICE Awards one year too, and that was...
Yeah, and sometimes you're sitting there for a long time. So one of the things my friends and I have done for a long time is that we turned it into gambling. I know gambling's wrong. I'm not promoting it in any way, shape, or form. But we would all make it be kind of like we do a dollar bet. It's like a kind of a gentleman's bet. Like, hey, throw in $1. Somebody wins, gets what you win is you win bragging rights, right?
Yeah.
Essentially is what you win. So
Gambling's fine in moderation.
It's legal.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm trying to cover all the things here. So basically, everyone here has to throw in $1 because someone's winning $5 essentially at the end of this thing, and the ability to and we'll talk about that on next week's show, because right now this is coming out on Thursday. The awards are tonight, so you probably already know the answers. You're going to laugh at our answers here because you already know what wins, but we don't. We are living in the past. This is now Monday, December 9th. So we will go through it, and the idea is even if you don't know what it is, that's fine. And the other thing here is that there's been a lot of things that people have learned over the years. If you follow your heart and you pick your favorite games, that's one route.
It's going to lose.
It's probably going to lose.
That's a painful route.
Joe is right. That is probably what you want to think about is who the crowd is, who's voting, which I know that there's a bunch of outlets that are responsible for a large part of it, and then there's kind of like the community vote at the end. So think about who's voting and try to choose based on that, because this isn't about who your favorite. It's like if you always pick the Vikings to win every game, you're going to lose as a gambler, right? Minnesota Vikings, Vikings fan. So you want to try to think that through. All right.
You'd also be incredibly depressed.
Yes, you would be. So we'll try to go through these pretty quick. I want to hear your reason to why you're picking it, and we want you to fill out your forms. And Alex, you have one for yourself, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, and we're gonna start big and go down the list. So we're gonna start with Game of the Year, which is probably the last thing they do, but this will be the one that's most talked about.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys think? Who do you think wins Game of the Year at the game? This is all, by the way, these are not the Game Informer Awards. These are who we think is going to win the Game Awards Thursday night.
Just for the audio listeners, should we run down the nominees so
sure.
everybody's aware?
Okay, sure. So the Game of the Year, the nominees are Outer Worlds, Sekiro, RE2, Smash Brothers, Death Stranding, and Control.
And Smash Brothers is because it was like after the cutoff for last
year.
year.
It was not available last year. Which this year the big controversy is that Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order was not available. It came out too late. We did not get it in time. So it is also not on the list. It kind of ends up taking over that kind of Smash Brothers perhaps next year.
Well,
depending
Pokemon
on
also would qualify for that, came out the same day.
Yeah. So that's where you see that kind of like just their aggression to get it out before the end of the year. Jeff's call.
I mean, you have to make a cutoff at some point.
Yeah,
if you're going to do it this year, you have to cut it off at some point. But that's the explanation for why that is there, despite it being a 2018 game officially.
So but I mean, speaking of which, though, I think that considering that if Smash Brothers had come out in a year that did not have God of War and Red Dead, I think that would have been a serious
contender.
Yeah. Like, I think the field's a little weaker this year. I think Smash Brothers is the winner.
Wow.
I don't think that's a bad bet.
I think that's what I'm hoping for, especially because I've read, I don't know if this is true, but I've read Sakurai's going to be there.
Oh.
I think that would be the ultimate tip of the cap to like, here's to 20 years of amazing fighting games.
Well, they might
fighting
they showed
games,
Joker last year, so maybe they show another character too. Might be the Smash connection.
Yeah. Unlike what we just talked about, I'm going to follow my heart and I'm going to agree with Joe. Smash for Smash. For
Are you following Joe or
Yeah.
Smash?
Smash.
I'm not following my heart. I don't even particularly care for that game, but I think that it's
You think it's like it's a big enough game and a big enough? I mean, I think it has a real chance of winning the kind of like community vote.
Fan favorite.
The fan.
Exactly.
I think the fans will go crazy
and
for
I
it.
think I think it has a good shot from like the press outlets that were voting too, with the only warning that like because it was last year, I think you run the real risk of it just like feeling old.
Yeah,
to
that's
like
always
the
you
press
feel.
people that are voting.
I
but-
think that's the big thing for me and why I kind of want it to win too, but I think it's just too old that a lot
Yeah.
of people,
So-
especially press,
out
are
of
gonna be
what's your
like,
pick?
Outer Worlds.
Okay.
I think.
I'm also
All
going
right.
Outer Worlds.
Yeah, just because it's like I
too.
think it was between that and Control for me because I think they're both great games. I just think Outer World is probably the one that more press people would vote for. It's kind of like a press darling. I
But
guess
there's
is
a
what I'm going
community
for.
element here too, right?
That's what I think. That's where Outer
Well,
Worlds really soars ahead.
And also, I think more community people will vote for Outer Worlds.
More community people voting for Outer Worlds than Smash Bros.
I think
No,
so.
then Control. I'm saying.
Oh,
between those two.
oh,
I think
I see.
I think Outer Smash Brothers is too old. That's why I discounted that one.
And I think those reasons are all valid. And I don't. I'm speaking this into existence. That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's kind of crazy. I thought someone would say Resident Evil.
Well, I mean, that's my personal choice. I just don't think anybody's going to vote for it.
Yeah.
Because they're all idiots.
I am going to make the. I'm actually going to go with my heart and pick Control. And I also love it that I'm also kind of going against you guys a little bit. So this is going to give me an advantage later when you're all wrong, and I'm right.
That's one thing, or it's just gonna put you underwater right away.
They could do that. Yes, it could. Do
Andy
that.
actually got the results early, so
Hey, yeah, wait. I need to see your text with Keeley. Make sure there's something.
Yeah.
Now, I think Reiner said as I was leaving, Reiner was saying he thinks Death Stranding is going to win because Keeley and Kojima are friends.
and Keeley is literally in the game.
See, I don't think that's enough to get it Game of the Year.
And he's joking, by the way. I mean,
Right,
that's,
right.
he's joking.
Yeah.
I was surprised to see it nominated, though. A little bit.
I don't know, man.
I think there's a lot of people that really love that game. I don't know that I love it in that level. But I can see why people like. I respect when people go like, "That's my game of the year." I totally get it. Like I think that there's a lot of good things about that game. It's just not a game for me.
Yeah.
Per se, but I get it. I just think it's going to be. I think that's the thing is that it splits the room. Right. I was personally surprised to see it on the Game of the Year list.
It
but-
even splits the people. Like, for me individually, I feel like I am of two minds of that game. I finished it this weekend, and it's like, for Death Stranding, it's like, part of me loves it, and part of me thinks it's not that great, and I have big problems with it.
Yeah, we talked about that before when we talked about the review. Is that like what a hard review to write? What a hard review to write. So now that said, the next subject, best game direction, which is Death Stranding, Control, Sekiro, and Outer Worlds.
Outer Wilds.
Outer Wilds. I'm sorry. Yes.
Wait, Joe, did you say yours?
Yeah, he
Yeah,
said Smash.
I said Smash.
Oh, okay. Oh, we're on the Smash train.
So I think for game direction, Death Stranding really stands out, and Control is amazing, and Sekiro, obviously, I think they've done a great job with From Software from there. So I did not play a ton of Outer Wilds myself, but it does definitely have a great style from what I've seen. So these are all pretty close horses, I think, in that race. Alex, do you want to comment first?
Yeah, I think this Death Stranding, it's like category. If it's going to win one or two, I think this is going to be one of them. That being said, it's tough because like you have Kojima, but then with Sekiro, you have Miyazaki. So it's like two giants. I don't know. I think there was more love in at least the journo space for Sekiro. Well, I know there was. But I'm going to just dash all of that and say Control.
Wow.
Oh man, that was
Everyone saw that coming.
Yeah.
That was a long road to go down just to do a U-turn.
Thank you for wasting our time.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, I don't want to waste anybody's time, so I'll say Control as well.
Oh, okay. We are all in the Control.
I'm saying Outer Wilds,
All right, Brian.
critical darling and a community favorite.
Yeah.
This is where I think Death Stranding gets its due. I don't think the problems with that game are not enough to get it Game of the Year. But I think if you single out the director, the direction of it, I think this is that category.
I agree with Joe. Actually, I think this is the one that it should win, and the one I'm going to pick. And part of that is that I have some problems maybe with some of the gameplay direction, but that game, even the smallest details are so well executed and so thought through, and that's tough to say because Control is my game of the year, and the fact that game is so stylized and so cool and has so many great, amazing direction choices that I still would choose Death Stranding, which a game that I don't love, over that, I think says something, and I think a lot of people are going to. I agree with you, Joe. I'm down on that. So
I think it needed better direction though to cut out some of that BS that people
that's a
don't
fair
like.
point. That's a fair point. But I'm trying to look at the things that it did really well, and it was directed. I mean, it was directed well. I think in regards to they did a lot of creative decisions that were interesting. Does that make sense?
They went different directions than you thought sometimes.
Yeah. Good or bad.
They did the odd choice sometimes.
Now, that said, if Control wins this, I would be thrilled, even though it would put me behind on this. See, this is where it gets tricky, because you're I need to win.
You already went on the record.
I know,
you're set in stone now.
I did.
Now, Andy,
I did.
do you have any insight into how some of these nominations happen in terms of why some categories have 5 or 6 and some only have 4?
Everyone tries to put in votes. It is hard at times. I know, you'll be oh, hey, this category, there's not really enough that you think are vote worthy. So I don't know.
Is that what it was?
As part of the panel, we all, just so people understand, maybe a little transparency here, we do an internal vote here at Game Informer where I share our nomination ballot. Game Informer does nominate games,
which is just a blank document that we fill in with what we think should go out for different.
We get the categories, yes, and we put them in, and so does everyone else that's involved. And there's a whole list on the Game Awards site that shows all the people that are part of it. Those create the nominees, and then we get a ballot that we also vote on, which we go through and kind of go through that way. So. Everyone has different tastes. I definitely at that time I say to myself I know this is totally a Game Informer pick, but I'm pretty sure because I'm friends with a lot of the other journalists and other outlets. I'm that they'll totally pick something like this, right?
Yeah.
And then you get those nominees back, and you tend to see that kind of happen there. But I think maybe Ryan and I were the ones that went through the list at the end, or maybe just me that put in our actual votes that saw the tallies of all your kind of internal votes that we did and we put together to send out. So I have a little bit of insight knowing one Game Informer vote, right?
Yeah.
But it's more than 20 outlets or something like that are involved. So
I'm just surprised to see with game direction that Smash Brothers isn't on this, or Outer Worlds, that some of those other games aren't also on.
I am too, and maybe Alex cut and pasted poorly, and we can blame him later.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Maybe he's removing things from this to make it more difficult.
Yeah.
Outer Worlds is going to win game direction. Yeah,
that's how he's going to win the bet. He's
Take everything off.
excised the likely winners.
How have you seen into my ruse already?
So Best Narrative is Control, Disco Elysium, Outer Worlds, A Plague Tale are the 4 listed here. Reeves.
Personally, I think Disco Elysium should be the winner. I don't think there's enough people who are going to vote for that, especially in the fan group. I know that has a fan following, but I just think more people have played these other games.
Yeah,
or at least Outer Worlds and Control.
That's tricky because I feel like I agree with you, but I wonder if there's been enough I wonder if there's been enough momentum or sort of grassroots support for Disco Elysium at this point to maybe push it ahead.
Maybe.
There might be, but it's not. At the same time, it's not the Undertale type of enthusiasm that existed that year.
I think I'm gonna go for the Outer Worlds because part of me is thinking just the incredible response that had last year at the Game Awards. And how excited people were.
Yeah.
I think that there's a good audience overlap there.
Yeah. For me, it was between Outer Worlds and Control, and I think I'm leaning Outer Worlds as well, just for some of the same reasons. I think it is a good, fun story. I like the humor in it. I think that appeals to the masses.
I also have Outer Worlds marked down on mine.
Wow.
That
Alex?
was going to be my choice too, but now since everyone's picking it, fine, I'll pick Outer Worlds too.
This is great because you guys what you guys have done? You've opened the door for me. Disco Elysium is going to win narrative.
All right.
And the reason why I say that too is that I know because I follow them on Twitter, a lot of the outlets that are voting had someone who turned into a huge Disco Elysium person. And given how Joe has been annoying about the game here
It's
in
true.
the office,
It's true.
that every office has a Joe screaming about Disco Elysium in them, and they're just like, fine, we'll put it down for narrative, leave me alone. So I think it wins based on that. So that's my reason.
I think we call it passion, not annoyance, right?
Okay, sorry. Passion. My bad.
People often ask me why are you so passionate, being so passionate?
I do want to give a shout out to Plague Tale. I'm happy to see that even got nominated because that was a game that I gave like a 7 to earlier in the year. But I thought like the story was definitely a standout.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see that it's nominated.
It's getting credit for what it did well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's great too. Best art direction. GRE, Control, Death Stranding, Sayonara, Wild Hearts, Sekiro, and Link's Awakening. That is GRE, right? Or is it Gris?
Agree. Well, I think it depends on which language it is. If it's Spanish, then it's Gris, and if it's French, it's Gris. I looked this up last
Did
year.
you?
So, yeah.
Oh, nice work. Nice work.
Something like that.
Best art direction. So there are a lot of choices here. What say you, Mr. I knew how to pronounce the name?
You're gonna have to help me with the pronunciation of this one though. But Control, I think that's how you pronounce it.
Is that your show?
That's my pick. All right. Control.
The L is silent.
Okay, Control.
Control.
Depends if it's Spanish or French.
Yes.
Joe?
I'm going to go with Death Stranding on that one again. I think the visually that game just looks so good, and I think like Shinkawa's like character and mechanical designs are fantastic.
Yeah. Agreed.
Maybe this is me picking for me again.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
whatever.
This is the one when you guys were talking about this game, the game direction category.
This is where you think it should
This
be.
is one where I was like, yeah, Death Stranding has good art direction, but I don't know if direction as a whole I would give it to. But I think art direction, yeah. So that's why I was leaning Death Stranding. I was thinking Link's Awakening at first, but then I was like, maybe everybody's going to be like me and assume everybody else is voting for Link's Awakening and try to vote for something else.
And
Old
Alex?
strategy there, Reeves.
Yeah.
I'm going Link's Awakening. It doesn't have it has a couple nominations on here, but I think that's the one that everyone talked about leading up to it, and I think that was one of the strongest parts of it. So I'm going Link's Awakening.
Yeah, this is tough. You've actually got me thinking, Reeves. I need to change my best game direction. I might want to change that. Can I change that? Is there rules?
It's written
How do you
in
guys
pen.
feel?
I don't know.
I guess ballots have not been officially submitted.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with that. Death Stranding is art. I'm going to agree with that. And I want to change. I want to change best game direction to Control. I think.
Ooh.
I think I'm going to make an audible here because I do think I do give it great game direction, but I think if you do just art direction, you kind of do. I think you're right, Ben. I think you've changed my mind.
that's what's good about the game is the art direction for sure.
Yeah.
I'm going to reserve my right to change my vote
Also,
until
too,
Friday. As
I
well.
actually think it has a chance here, and I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, is the best score, which is Cadence of Hyrule, Death Stranding, Devil May Cry 5, Kingdom Hearts 3, and Sayonara Wild Hearts, which is also amazing. But I definitely think that there's just going to be people that really love Death Stranding and will not have played Sayonara Wild Hearts, which I actually think is better.
The thing about that category that feels so weird to me is unless you like the band Low Roar, like it's so specific. It's like, do you like the music of Low Roar? If so, you're going to love the score of Death Stranding.
Well, and is that music that already existed that he just pulled into the game, or did they create that music specifically for Death Stranding?
I think Churches made that last track specifically for it, right?
I think that there are a couple maybe specifically made ones, but like in general, the music that you hear when you're just like going over a hill and then you see a distribution center down there and they start playing, like that's just off of a Low Roar album. Like it's not made for the game.
So that's why I wonder if like would people knock it against? Is like, well,
I don't think the average person's going to know
Yeah,
that.
but like
Song
Pulp
selection.
Fiction had a great soundtrack, and it was a bunch of songs from other places, right?
Yeah,
You know
but
what I mean? Like
but
there's
that-
not a.
Yeah, but that's like a collection of different things. It's not just like like the score for Death Stranding is essentially a Low Roar album.
All right. Well, I mean, then what do you vote for then, Joe? I'm so angry about a band you like now, by the way, which you listen to in your free time.
Hey, I'm just saying for the voting.
For the voting.
I'm just saying
Okay,
for the
all right,
voting.
all right.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, what do you think? What do you think?
I think Cadence of Hyrule gets it.
That's what I was going to go with too.
I do
actually,
as well.
Which is my
Wow,
my
look
heart
at you
vote.
three. All right.
It's
Alex.
a really good soundtrack.
Very good.
I'm gonna go. This is I haven't heard the soundtrack on like DMC or Death Stranding, so I'm gonna go Kingdom Hearts. Doesn't have a ton of nominations.
What?
Classic Disney. Ben, you're a big fan of that game, are you?
I've said some things about that game in the past.
I didn't see that coming. I'm actually going Death Stranding again, even though I want to be very clear. I think Sayonara Wild Hearts has the best music track of any game, and it's not close this year. To be very clear, I just want to make sure it's out there. Best audio design: Call of Duty, Control, Death Stranding, Gears 5, Resident Evil 2, Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. This one I think Modern Warfare wins this in a landslide.
I was gonna say it too.
I'm back and forth between Death Stranding and Modern Warfare.
The sound of like airstrikes and multiplayer.
I think it's
Like the first time I was playing, I was like, wow, they really nailed the sound design in this. I think it's Modern Warfare.
Anybody not Modern Warfare?
Yeah, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to
Okay,
break away.
all right, moving.
I mean, because I can definitely see that as a possibility. But just to be different, I think people have heard enough shooty guns and grenade sounds over the years, and that they're going to be more impressed with Resident Evil 2.
Joe.
which sound in particular?
I don't know if I should not do this because Joe did it, but I was also going to do Resident Evil 2, and maybe I'm blinded by love, but I think like it did have good sound design, like just the creaking of the floorboards, and the floorboards. Yeah,
I mean, sound
But those
design,
floorboards are amazing.
Like sound design in a horror game is so important,
It is.
and when
Right.
it's well done, it can create that tension so well.
and it is good in that game, so I'm going with that.
All right. Best audio design. It's a real shame that you guys are going to let Call of Duty win like that and lose all those points. So best performance. This one's interesting. This is like actually one of my favorite categories that they do at the Game Awards. I don't know why. I just always find it interesting. So best performance, which is Ashley Birch as Pavarotti Holcomb in The Outer Worlds. Courtney Hope.
Pavarotti, yep. That's it.
Oh, sorry. I'm thinking about Pavarotti, which is an ice cream I really like.
Or the opera singer.
Yeah.
Parvati Holcomb.
Parvati. Thank you. So I get a little cross-eyed, by the way, from my microphone. Courtney Hope as Jesse Faden in Control. Laura Bailey as Kate Diaz in Gears 5. Mads Mikkelsen, right?
Yep.
As Cliff, Death Stranding. Matthew Peretta as Dr. Casper Darling in Control. And Norman Reedus as Sam Porter Bridges in Death Stranding. Two Death Stranding people in there, which they had famous people, so I get that. Who wants to jump off the ledge first?
I think it's your turn to jump off the ledge first.
Oh,
Go
okay.
for it, Andy.
I will gladly talk this through. I just want to say my heart goes to Matthew Peretta. Dr. Casper Darling in
he's
Control
terrific.
is
He's great.
It's just I think hands down the best performance.
AKA Alan Wake, Matthew Peretta.
Yeah, I just think he killed it. I really want him to win, and I'm gonna I think I should vote for Ashley because I think she's gonna win. But I also worry that someone, this is going to sound horrible, but I think someone from Death Stranding will be there and then they'll win because they're there, which always is a concern.
This is the same boat I'm in. Is just like judging from not just my personal feelings on it, but just how in love with Parvati the internet was when The Outer Worlds came out. Part of me is like, well, that's a shoo-in.
Yeah.
But Norman Reedus is a famous person.
Having Norman Reedus on stage would be great for the Game Awards.
Yeah, so it's like part of me is just like whether or not that happens. It's between those two for me, and I'm not totally
Those
sure.
are the two I'm torn. I think I'm going to go Norman Reedus.
I mean, I'm going to go with Ashley because I liked her performance better, but I liked Matthew's best. This is so
Yeah.
I hate this part of it, but that's what I'm going to go with, and you're going to go with Norman. Anyone else is going with Norman? Is everyone just going to go with Norman?
I'm going with Ashley.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Parva Crumble or whatever that name is.
Parmesan crumble.
Provolone.
Yeah,
Provolone Holcomb, which would be a good
that's a
name.
really good name, actually.
It's a detective.
Yeah, that's an amazing name.
Next Extra Life, that's your character,
gosh.
Provolone Holcomb.
This is tough. Because one of the universal things I've heard about Death Stranding is the performances are all amazing. And I think Norman Reedus.
Who'd you hear that from?
The interweb, not Joe Juba, apparently.
No.
I mean, I think the performances are good. I just think sometimes it's kind of like that Star Wars joke, like who can read this?
Yeah, I think
Do you know
that's
what I
part of the
mean? Like
problem.
that's maybe part of it.
I do want to give a shout out to Laura Bailey because she is amazing in Gears 5. I think that it's going to be Norman Reedus or Ashley Birch. Those are the two I'm between, but I'm saying Norman Reedus.
And I would say everybody, Courtney Hope did a good job as Jesse Faden. I mean, there's a bunch of great performances here. I mean, they're all
incredible.
I'm going to go Norman. I'm going to follow the crowd.
Crowd follower. All right. Games for Impact. Concrete Genie, Gree, Kind Words, Life is Strange 2, Sea of Solitude.
This is tricky.
It is.
As we know from the first segment of this episode, I'm really into Life is Strange 2.
Yeah.
But I also, because that game came out, it started so long ago, right? Like September of last year. I wonder if did people follow through with it? Did they keep playing it? Is it enough to
Also,
vote
what's
on it?
interesting too is that the final episode just happened last week, right?
Right.
So it's like way out. Like the finish to it is way out. So I think that puts it at a severe disadvantage. Which is one of those things, on a side note, we actually don't ever let just a single episode be voted for Game of the Year or one that's not complete because we always worry the last episode could be horrible.
Yeah.
Right.
Which in this case, people would have been voting without knowing if that last episode is horrible, which I think would have made them skip voting for it. To work on what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. So
But in terms of games for impact, that I feel like that has a slightly different criteria.
Okay, fair enough. All right, fair enough. That you could get away with it.
And I'm going to go Life is Strange 2. I'll jump off the ship first.
All right. Anybody else?
I think I'm Life is Strange as well. It just feels like the most. Maybe I'm voting popularity here, but I think it's probably the one that.
Gree had a pretty big groundswell when it first came out, but I feel like I haven't heard anybody talk
That
about
was
it in a
so
while.
long ago now. That was
Exactly.
last
That was
year,
again
yeah.
a late last year game. So missing the cutoff.
I'm going to go Concrete Genie. There was a lot of people that I follow on Twitter who really liked that game, and the voting was kind of close, or at least the start of the thought of it, so I think Concrete Genie.
I'm with Alex. I actually think it's going to be Concrete Genie. I beat that
Wow.
game. Yeah.
for me, it's a toss-up between Concrete Genie and Life is Strange 2, so I'm going to go with my heart.
So Life is Strange.
Life is
Aw.
Strange 2.
All right.
And as we know, you can never go wrong
Yeah.
in
Right.
gambling with your heart.
it never goes wrong.
Never goes wrong.
Yep, follow your heart.
Best ongoing game. So Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy 15, Fortnite, Rainbow Six Siege.
That's 14.
Final Fantasy 14.
Oh, 14. Sorry.
I mean, it's got to be Fortnite,
Yeah.
right?
Fortnite just had their huge season 2 with the black hole and everything. I feel like it's
Regardless
I'll
of
run
what
away.
games anyone here at the table prefers, I don't think there's any undoing that, right?
Yeah, I think it was unfortunate that Apex didn't get nominated in some other categories and
It's in
got a
community
win.
support, but yeah.
it is hard to fight Epic's just ridiculous support of Fortnite.
Is there a chance that it probably wins the reader vote for sure? Is there a chance that maybe the press wouldn't vote for it? It's like they're a little bit. This game's too cool. Like,
Well, I was going to ask, is
Always a chance.
is press weighed differently than community votes? Like, how do they?
Isn't it supposed to be like 50-50? Like the press stuff is.
Yeah, I think the community, influences. I think it has created some interesting races. I think Keely's kind of mentioned that to me in past. That I think he said God of War and like Red Dead were like neck and neck until the very very end.
that's interesting.
So I think it can. I mean, I don't know. You have to decide. It's your bet.
I just don't know if there's like another game in here that's the strong number 2 that would overtake Fortnite in my mind. Like Apex was good, Rainbow was also good. Like
Siege
there's
is
a lot of
huge.
there's a lot of
Siege is a
great
big
games
community.
on here.
Yeah, it's just a question of like how many of those have outlets that really play them a lot and really support them a lot. You know what I mean? Like I think that's part of it.
I think it's
Fortnite.
And how
Fortnite.
exploitable was the community voting system?
I don't know. I'm not here to judge.
No, I'm just saying if you have a community that can really get out there and just vote for something, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's why he kept it weighted so that they couldn't. I mean, I think he doesn't want them to tip the scales, but I think he wants them to have input.
All right. So it's a long way of saying Fortnite.
Are we all on Fortnite?
Yes.
I can't not say Fortnite to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
I think it's
I was trying to
Fortnite.
talk myself out of it, but I don't think I
I
can.
mean, they had
just-
such a good year. I'm not a Fortnite player, but
Destiny's
yeah,
had an amazing year too. That's my only hesitation.
And like earlier Thursday, which might be happening right now, they're showing Star Wars in Fortnite.
that's
Which is
right.
like-
Yeah, they're
which
doing
is
some
crazy.
sort
Like they're
of-
doing some kind of scene in Fortnite, like
Yeah.
in game, which is crazy, right? Like once again, and Fortnite has had a couple of these moments where you're like, there's a concert in it. There's just like they've done some really crazy stuff as far as and innovative as a game in a game space. So
I remember even last year when Thanos was there, I was like, "What? This is weird and like
Yeah.
really cool." But yeah, just the fact that they do stuff like that is really
it's
really
been
awesome.
over the top. Yeah. Best independent game: Baba Is You, Disco Elysium, Katana Zero, Outer Wilds, Untitled Goose Game.
I think this is one of the hardest categories because I think there's a lot of love for Disco Elysium, Outer Wilds, and Goose Game.
I
Yeah.
think this is where Disco Elysium gets its love.
I think this is where Goose Game gets its love.
I think this is where Outer Wilds gets its love.
Oh, this is interesting. Alex.
Let's see. I'm trying to see what
There
I
are
bet
5
on the
games
other
here. It'd be
ones
hilarious if we all went different.
Oh man, I think
No one's voting Katana Zero.
That's
no.
like, hey, I'm here too, guys.
Yeah, I mean, and Katana Zero is a fun, interesting game.
Yeah.
But it's not. I mean, it's just
It doesn't compete.
It's just in a
with these,
different
I feel
tier
like.
here. Yeah.
Are you going with Katana Zero then, Alex?
yeah. Since I don't think it's gonna win Best Narrative, I think it's gonna get it to do at some point. So yeah, I'm gonna say Disco Elysium for Best Independent.
And I'm gonna go with Untitled Goose Game.
Really?
Yep. I think once again, I think the point that was made earlier that game had a lot of swell. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of people were like dressing up for it as Halloween. I think the nomination started in November. I think there's still a lot of like Goose love out there. I think Goose is going to pull it out. But I do think Disco Elysium is the second best choice on there.
I think there's another place where Goose Game's gonna
Just tear it up.
Yeah,
Okay,
we'll-
all right.
we'll get
We'll get to it. Hopefully, I don't have to change my mind again. But by the way, and Outer Wilds, Game Informer, I will admit, does not have as many people that are like as diehard as I've seen other places. There are a lot of diehard fans of Outer Wilds.
There really are.
I'm really bad at space flight it's my game blind spot. I think I've talked about it on previous podcasts a long, long time ago. I'm just bad at it. So when games that are like that, I'm always like, I don't want to fly around space. Sorry, I'm bad at that. So I move on.
In the intro, I couldn't land the ship onto like the wood or whatever, and I just put it down.
Yeah.
That's
You
just
just
me being
quit
bad.
there?
Yeah.
Oh no.
It's someone bad at. Yeah. So best mobile game: Call of Duty Mobile, Grindstone, Sayonara Wild Hearts, Sky, Children of Light, What the Golf. I think Sky won Apple's best
Really?
mobile game. Yeah, I think so. Which that's a very interesting game. It's that game company, and it's also coming to console here, I think, shortly. Sayonara Wild Hearts was also on console and only available through Apple Arcade, I think.
Yep.
Which is weird because I guess it could be a really great mobile game, but it wasn't specifically for mobile. And What the Golf was also on PC and on mobile. But I mean, they are fun mobile, right? There is that. I do think Sayonara is better played on a couch, loud, and not on a phone. But that's personal. I'm not trying to sound like Scorsese or anything like that.
I think this is where
Defining how it should be done.
where the fan vote will like how much that's weighted is really going to come into effect because Call of Duty Mobile blew up for a while there, and I think that if the fan vote is weighted pretty heavily, then Call of Duty takes it.
I don't think anyone's voting for Call of Duty Mobile.
I'm saying Call of Duty Mobile.
It's actually been a very successful year for Call of Duty Mobile. It really has been.
Yeah,
I think he's got a point though with the reader vote. I think the press probably won't vote for it, but yeah, the reader's good.
I don't know.
Take
I
it
think
away.
even press has a chance of voting for it.
No, you're wrong.
Okay.
I do like that in this group. It's very much we're all like trying to give each other the answers to the test. Whereas like I feel like with my
none of us
friends, it's
know
all
the
like, yeah,
answer.
you should go vote for Sayonara
Yeah.
Wild Hearts.
Go
Yeah.
for it.
Go for it.
All right, anybody else? Come on.
I'm gonna vote with my heart and go Grindstone.
I'm with Ben.
That's the
I'm
one I think
Grindstone
is
as well.
the best.
I'm gonna say What the Golf.
It should win either way.
I'm Joe with
Grindstone
What the
should win.
Golf.
I'm gonna go Sayonara.
All right, Sayonara. There you go. That's a. It is
Nobody
a good game.
voted for Sky.
You know, my problem with Sky, and I tried to play it. I am. We're talking about. I don't know how this turned into Andy's bad at things, but I am definitely bad at virtual sticks.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Is anybody good at that?
Yes, I have friends that I'm like, I cannot believe you are so good at that because my thumb just moves
Yeah.
up my phone until I'm holding it wrong, and then I'm like I tense up, and then my hands hurt, and I'm like, I hate this.
I can't remember if this piece ever actually went up, but I know that we discussed it at some morning meetings that I think it was Kyle who was going to write something that like Sky is just so much better with a traditional controller.
Uh huh.
Yeah, I mean, Yes, and that's why I was like, I want to play. I started it. I bought it. I was like thrilled to play it.
Yeah.
I love what that company's done. That game company's done. I should add. But I just couldn't do it, and so I was like, I'm gonna wait for this to come to a platform. I'm gonna play it on a couch. It's gonna be way better. So I think that is definitely one of those. It's a challenge for that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't think we're judging it for how good it is or anything like that.
But
It's just like
as a mobile experience.
yeah, it didn't work for me. So best community support: Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy. What did we
14.
do this
This is
one?
basically ongoing game.
Same thing as ongoing
Yeah.
games.
It
seems
is
like,
essentially.
which is why I'm saying Fortnite again.
Same vote. For
so we're all doing Fortnite again.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to do Siege on this one.
Really?
I think just with talking with Leo and all the support that, and it feels like that, and I don't know, there could be bumps on the road, but I think there's enough goodwill there. Whereas like Apex Legends, when you call someone an ass hat, that doesn't really do great. I don't know if you guys saw that on Reddit.
Okay.
So, but
interesting.
yeah, I'm gonna go Siege.
Yeah, it's tough. The only one by the way, I'd like to say there's some great community managers out there and communities that are built and doing awesome things out there. I want to make sure we give a call out to them. I really like what Destiny 2 has done this year. I'm like, that's tough. My heart wants to say Destiny 2, but I feel like it's just dumb to go against Fortnite.
Yeah, I think Rainbow Siege 6. I mean, Alex makes a great point in talking to Leo about it too. Is like it. I think that is the game that probably should win. I think Fortnite probably will win.
I think it's probably. I think it's kind of expected. Okay, so now we go to best VR AR game: Asgard's Wrath, Blood and Truth, Beat Saber, No Man's Sky, Trover Saves the Universe. The interesting thing here is that like Beat Saber, we couldn't figure out how to make it say that it came out this year, though it got out of beta or got into some platform. It's weird to me that it's involved because Beat Saber is an amazing, amazing game.
Oh yeah.
Like
Probably my favorite VR game ever.
Yeah, I mean it's awesome. And the No Man's Sky take on VR, I've heard is very, very good, but it just it's kind of a game that's moved to VR rather than kind of to home to it. So I don't know. I tend to think that maybe hurts it a little bit. Trover is super funny, but it's playable without being in VR.
And also the game's not good. I mean, I think it's a funny game, but the gameplay parts are not good. I don't think it's a pretty generic game.
Yeah, I felt like the game was designed to play into the joke a bit, and I liked that part. I mean, I wasn't bothered by the fact that maybe the gameplay wasn't, breakthrough. I liked that it played into what I enjoyed about that, which was, those guys going off and doing funny things, which I thought it was very self-aware.
I agree.
Funny.
It's funny. It's very funny.
But I have to go Beat Saber. But it's weird. So there's no pistol whip on here, huh?
No, it
Nope.
probably came out too late.
Or did
I'm
it?
guessing.
I
know.
think
When did that come out?
we put it on our nominations list. I guess just so that people didn't have it on there. But that would have been one that I think GI tried to get in there. But I think given it, because it is like the best VR game that I can think of, it's Beat Saber in my book.
I'm with
Anybody
you.
else?
Beat Saber.
Beat Saber.
Beat Saber's a lock.
Beat Saber. Unless it somehow gets disqualified because they realize it came out last year. I don't know.
Well, it might be one of those things where, I mean, it must not have come out
I
that
feel like it was
late.
out in the summer.
I did
don't
look
know.
it up, and it says
Well-
it comes out. It has a release date of May this year, which I still don't understand.
I mean,
it's one of those things I keep
Is
looking
that
it
like
up.
1.0 for PC maybe? Because like it came out on PSVR last year. I know that because I bought my PSVR with Beat Saber.
Yeah, it's confusing. It's confusing.
Whatever.
know.
It's on the list. It's
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's
gonna win.
eligible.
It's eligible. Best action game: Apex Legends, Astral Chain, Call of Duty, Devil May Cry 5, Gears 5, Metro Exodus.
I'm doing
That's-
Call of Duty
Essentially, they're all FPS, except for Astral and Devil.
Gears.
or Gears.
Oh, Gears, yeah. Sorry, I tend to put it in there, even though it's third person.
So they're half FPS.
Why is FPS an abbreviation or like an acronym we use, but not TPS for third person shooter?
Because there's more first-person shooters.
Yeah.
Because people would always just say TPS reports and laugh about it.
Yeah, that's the
There's
reason.
probably something to that. I think it's just FPS because that's like was a thing there for a while. I mean, it's literally defined
Yeah.
games, even though it's not entirely accurate. Which that's the hard part, especially as we get here to genre thing. And we have this discussion all the time. Genres are the worst. They really are the worst. They're so hard to pick. They're so like games can fit anywhere. You know what I mean? Like you could go, that's action adventure. Oh, that's best RPG. They're really hard to do, but we do them typically as awards to try to get recognition for a lot of games. But they're real messy.
It's also
They're real messy.
weird that the Game Awards doesn't have like a shooting category. like best shooter.
Yeah, I mean, like
I know they're lumped into action, but
yeah,
it's just a strange categorization thing.
you got to just keep going, right?
Yep.
It's kind of this thing. So what do you got? Best action game.
I think out of this list, Devil May Cry 5 is the one that should win that I've played.
Okay.
But I think that Call of Duty probably will win.
Joe's been looking off my sheet.
So you're going COD.
I'm going COD. COD more. Mwah.
Mwah. Mwah.
And Shay,
COD.
COD.
I hate to just follow along, but yeah, I was thinking Call of Duty as well.
I'm thinking Call of Duty as well.
All right, I'm gonna be different then. I just haven't decided how I'm gonna be different.
You're gonna go Apex
Yeah.
Legends. You've been talking nonstop
We had
about that
one
game.
meeting earlier today. I feels like the gaming press was a little whelmed with it. But it could have really good community support. What? Laughing at me. Yeah, Apex. We'll go it. We'll do it.
I like how you tried to walk around Joe saying that you were going to pick that, and then just went right back to
Go
it.
for
Just
it.
stalling for time.
It's just like,
Should I do something else? Oh, no.
Alex,
no.
you don't get paid by how many words you say on
Yeah,
the podcast.
exactly. Could have just said you're right, Joe. Could have just said, but I do admire not letting Joe be right.
Yeah, I understand not wanting to
Trying
say
to
that.
become my own
understand that,
person.
yeah.
It's
you know?
it's a pride thing. I get it a lot. I'm right a lot, and people really try and fight against
Oh God!
it.
Moving
No,
on.
you're
Moving
right,
on.
Joe.
Moving on. Best action adventure game: Borderlands 3, Control, Death Stranding, RE2, Link's Awakening, Sekiro.
This one is hard.
Very hard. You know
yeah.
what? I'm gonna get out of the gate so I can get my own voice out there. I'm gonna say Resident Evil 2. I think they throw it. I feel like people are gonna vote for it just because I don't know if it's gonna win some of the other ones. According to my bets, it's not gonna win the other ones. So this is
Yeah,
where it
and
wins.
people do love Resident Evil.
I'm going to say Sekiro. For the same reason. People love Sekiro.
I think this is where Control gets its love.
Oh.
Yeah, I was going to go Control as well. I would love to see Resident Evil take it, but I feel like Control is going to win.
In your heart.
Well, in my heart, I want Resident Evil to win.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I'm
For
on
the
that-
money, though, I want Control.
I'm on that train. I'm going Control. Best RPG: Disco Elysium, Final Fantasy 14, Kingdom Hearts 3, Monster Hunter Iceborne, The Outer Worlds.
I'm going Outer Worlds.
Yeah, I still, for the same reason I didn't pick Disco earlier, I think I'm going to go Outer Worlds.
Yeah.
I'm going Outer Worlds.
It's a darling of the community and the critics.
Yeah, I'm going Outer Worlds.
I want to go Outer Worlds, but I did give it that before for best narrative. I'm wondering if, does Kingdom Hearts 3 ever win anything?
No.
Then it shouldn't.
Soundtrack. According to Alex Stadnick.
Dopey characters. Is that a category?
he's goofy.
That game does have a great score. Like the orchestral
It does.
stuff in
It does
is
have a great
wonderful.
score, but no one remembered it.
All right,
Fair.
I'm settling on the Outer Worlds. I'm a follower.
All right,
I guess
follower.
we're all on it.
We're all on it. That's
Outer
another one.
Worlds.
We've had a couple sweeps in here, which has been interesting. Best fighting game. This might be another sweep, which is Dead or Alive 6, Jump Force, Mortal Kombat 11, Samurai Showdown, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
We can just move on, right? We all.
I feel like if I'm being honest with myself, that if I think Smash Brothers is going to win the game of the year, then it also has to win fighting game. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm going fighting game for Smash.
I don't know. I mean, Mortal Kombat's the only thing that would have a
The only
shot,
thing, though,
right? But
they
I don't
don't-
think that's going to win.
They've done this weird thing in the past, though. I remember where it's like if something wins game of the year, it doesn't automatically take the genre that it's in. So it's like,
yeah, I mean that's possible, just because there's different voters, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And everyone has different values, right? It's hard to have like a set in stone thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, and Mortal Kombat 11 is great and all, but Super Smash Brothers is a cult. Like people that love that, and I think it's just gonna. I think that's a.
And it's still going. Like they
Yeah.
put out like what 3 or 4 characters
And they're
this
not,
year.
yeah, and they're not done yet. Also, our cult meetings are held at 3 p.m. on Thursdays. If anyone want to join, yeah.
which
No,
is also why I think it gets the next category too, which is best family
So
game.
best fighting
I went to
game.
the next
We all,
page. I was like,
but I just want to
best
make sure we all
strategy game?
agreed it's going to be Super Smash, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's the
Yeah.
surest
Anybody
lock of the show.
anybody want to go different? Anyone want to go to Jump Force? Jump Force? Anyone? Okay. Never mind. Best family game, which is, I mean, they're all Nintendo games. I think Nintendo's going to win.
Oh my gosh. You're
Luigi's
right. That's
Mansion,
crazy.
Ring Fit, Super Mario Maker 2, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and Yoshi's Crafted World, and proof that only Nintendo cares about your family. They're the only one.
That's it.
But they won't
the only
hesitate to
one.
kill them.
I mean, there's no way Ring Fit wins. Let's just get that out
I
of there.
think Smash is. I mean, is anybody not going Smash for that category?
Well, the one thing I was thinking of is why, if you're talking family game, I'm thinking like kids, and like some families are like,
Yeah.
Smash Brothers is too violent for me, and so I was thinking maybe some people would vote outside of the Smash Brothers realm for that reason, which is why I was thinking Super Mario Maker 2.
Okay, Ben, good choice.
Boo! Bad choice.
No, good
you're
choice,
the,
good
like, the
choice.
biggest
You
advocate.
should
of
be
that
saying
game.
yay, bad choice.
yeah,
remember?
yay, bad choice.
Make bad choices. I want to win $5.
Yeah.
So everyone else is Ultimate?
Who else wants my money?
I'm gonna go Luigi's Mansion. I think there's a certain. I guess I just don't assert or I just don't put Smash and Family together just because
Yeah.
I always play it with my friends and we have drinks
much
around
swearing?
it and swear. Yeah, it's just not. I think Luigi's Mansion isn't on this a lot, and I think it's gonna get its due there.
I don't think so, but okay.
What do you think?
Well,
I think Smash Brothers.
Let's bet.
Smash.
Let's bet.
We
a dollar.
already did.
Oh, okay. Damn it.
And Joe?
Side bet.
Joe?
Extra dollar.
Side pot.
Yeah, Smash Brothers.
I'm following Alex on this one. I'm going Luigi's Mansion 3.
Really?
It's so good.
It is good.
And I think that people are going to pick it because they're going to go like, Smash was last year and we had this like weird thing where it's in here and you have to like give it credit for being, like one of the greatest fighting game series ever and blah, blah, blah. But I think eventually when you have to pick a family game, you pick Luigi.
Okay.
That's what I think.
You should be thrilled.
You seem real smug about this one, Brian.
Yeah, I
This
mean, like,
category in particular.
Do you know something we don't?
I know nothing.
Okay. Well,
Correct.
then we all have a chance at being right. Though everyone that's listening is going like, you're going down the path of wrong right now.
Yeah,
Which might
and-
be the fun way to listen to this show of just being like, listen to these idiots be as wrong as they are.
Yeah, there are a few things that make me squirm when I'm driving quite as much as just like listening to someone be so wrong on a podcast. It's like, no.
Well, we're delivering that in spades today.
Yeah, Monday morning drivers, listen to us.
Best strategy game: Age of Wonders, Planetfall, Anno 1800, Fire Emblem 3 Houses, Total War 3 Kingdoms, Tropico 6, Wargrove. Can we just all agree on Fire Emblem now and move on?
I think this is the biggest slam.
Biggest slam.
The biggest slam dunk right underneath Smash Brothers for fighting game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all agree, right? No one's
Yeah.
going outside
No.
that. Okay.
Yeah.
Correct.
I don't think everybody's going to vote anything.
This is not the biggest sports crowd we've ever had, but best sports racing game. And that's part of the trick here is you need to just pick what you think is going to win. Crash Team Racing, Nitro Fuel, Dirt Rally 2.0, eFootball, Pro Evolution Soccer 2020, F1 2019, and FIFA 20.
How is MLB not on here?
It's not on here.
It's
did
not,
did
it's
not
not on
nominate.
here.
Same. It just
I think-
didn't.
Yeah, they just didn't.
I mean,
put it on.
MLB is the best sports game of the year in my opinion, but because it's on the list, I'm going to go Crash Team Racing. I think it's
Ooh.
mainstream enough that the non-sports people will be voting for it.
Yep, that's a very good choice
I
for
agree.
you. Yep, you should make that choice.
Good job.
While I'm over here circling FIFA, the most popular sports game in the world.
Yep. FIFA was a very good choice, but
I guess I'll
It's
go
the
with
dark
FIFA.
horse.
Yeah, I don't know.
just like
I'm
how,
going with Joe. I think FIFA's
just like
gonna
how
win.
Rocket League won Sports Game of the Year one year.
Yeah, but everyone
Yeah, but that's
loved
a
that
good
game,
game.
and it was
Yeah.
it was a darling, and it was
Everybody
huge,
was
and it
excited for
deserved
Crash
to
Team
win.
Racing.
Yeah, I would love to see survey results. What year did Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled come out?
All right, is there anyone who's not going to choose
2019.
FIFA that's not Shay? Are you?
I'm going with Shay.
You're going with Shay.
with
Shea Bebe.
Shay.
Wait.
Oh boy.
You know he picked Crash Team Racing. Right?
Oh well, in that case, yeah, I'm going Crash Team.
And Reeves?
I'm going with FIFA.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Welcome to the good team. All right. Excellent.
Oh man, that's going to be a
just
good
think-
category of Crash Team Racing wins for people to listen afterwards.
I'm gonna give Shay a hug when it wins.
What? I mean,
I think people get tired of voting for like the big dog.
That's the classic bet. You say like you'll pay up on a bet that is just never ever going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I'll give you $100 if Crash Team Racing wins.
clip it. Clip that.
Okay.
Yeah, I just you two are so wrong. Okay, best multiplayer game: Apex Legends, Borderlands 3, Call of Duty: Modern Warfare, Tetris 99, Tom Clancy's The Division 2.
Hey, Joe, do you want to tell everyone what I'm going to vote for?
Yeah, you're going to vote for Tetris 99 this time.
Oh, we're switching it up. Nah, I think I'm going to go. Someone else go.
Just say it. Just say it. Just say Apex Legends and move on.
That's voting with my heart. I don't know if I want to do that for this one.
Seems like Call of Duty to me. I mean, this is the best Call of Duty in years. I think a lot of people press side are really into it. It's also like a monster fan community. I think Call of Duty's probably got it.
I'm on Call of Duty as well.
I'm going to say Division 2 this time.
Joe. All right. Alex.
All right, Alex.
I'm
The
going
server
Mod.
has taken everybody else's order. It's your turn.
I'm going Modern Warfare. I'm changing it up.
You know, it's interesting because I'm gonna throw out one just weird thought. I'm gonna vote for Modern Warfare because I am, but I actually think amongst the press, Apex Legends, I feel like the press tends to always have a little bit of like sequelitis with Call of Duty. You know what I mean? Like because it's like every year, like for decades, we just keep getting Call of Duty. And I think that really wears down on the press and something like Apex being fresh. So like, Alex, I loved your vote earlier, which I thought was wasted. This was your time, I thought, to shine.
man.
I actually thought Apex Legends has a real chance to win here. I think that would be that's a good voting choice.
Yeah.
Right there, like gambling choice.
He would have respected you a lot more.
Well,
Yeah. It's not like some Crash Team Racing vote.
guys, I'm trying my best.
I like this next category, by the way.
So this is a fresh indie game presented by Subway.
Good grief.
I just promoted Subway.
This is
They are not paying us.
Yeah.
So why do we
Yeah.
read that?
Bleep it out if we want.
Hold
yeah,
on.
please bleep out his name.
Stop saying it.
You're putting extra work on me.
All right. ZAUM, or is it ZOM? It's CA. It's just the letters, right?
Zaum.
ZOM?
I always say Zaum. I don't know what it's supposed to be.
Because it's got ZA/UM.
For developers of Disco Elysium.
It's a lot less
Thank
catchy.
you. Nomada Studio for Gree. Dead Toast Entertainment for My Friend Pedro. Mobius Digital for Outer Wilds. God, I'm going to screw that up so much. Mega Crit for Slay the Spire. House for Untitled Goose Game. And this is tough because a lot of people love Slay, a lot of people love Outer, a lot of people love Disco, a lot of people love Goose Game. I do think the outsiders here are My Friend Pedro and Gree, unfortunately.
So speaking of bleeping words, what the is the difference between independent game and fresh indie game?
One of them is best game, and the other one is fresh game.
All right, I'm sorry. I stand corrected.
That's why I think this is where Untitled Goose Game is gonna get the award. Where
Yeah.
it's not quite saying, "Hey, this is as a game better than all these other ones," as much as it's just like, "Hey, special shout out to a fun little indie game."
Yeah, I think this one was supposed to also be like, hey, this is like a studio, like their first game. Was supposed to kind of be, but
Isn't this Untitled Goose? Isn't this House's second game? Though?
I mean, that's the problem. Is I do believe when I looked at the choices and when we did our nominations, I do believe House has done another game.
It wasn't like anything.
So honestly, I'm leaving it be. But I do think, to your point, that was supposed to be the
Okay.
differentiator there. So. Did someone make a choice? I wasn't listening.
I'm on
To tell
Goose
you the
Game.
truth. You're on Goose Game?
I'll do Disco.
I'm going to go Outer Wilds.
I'm also going Outer Wilds.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it is.
Outer Wilds.
It's really good.
Push Me Pull You is House's other game from 2016.
Yeah. I
But
mean, there
much
were
like
other
Beat
ones.
Saber, if it's on the list, it's nominated.
Yeah, I mean, it's nominated. It's
Yeah.
happening. I mean, there's no way around it. It's happening.
I'm going Disco. Even though Outer Wilds is very tempting.
You really sub that one up, dude.
I have to keep bleeping these guys. Come on.
That's right. I did say what the sub the difference between
Yeah.
Yes. This joke is not going to be as funny to everyone else
No,
as it is to us.
It's already really losing its shine.
Yes,
We really it up.
You just did it again, Shay. We just said it wasn't funny, and you followed it up.
I'll go
I
sub
am.
myself.
Get him out of here.
I mean, do I have to cancel this segment? Let's not cancel
We're
this
almost
segment.
done.
Yeah,
Let's
we're
go.
so
We're
close
almost
to the
done.
end.
Yeah, we are so close to
Just
them.
be a
We're like
human.
people are being. We don't want to bore them too much. I'm gonna go out on the just craziness. I'm gonna go with Slay the Spire. It's against all the grain that's out
People
there.
love that game.
That is a really good game, by the way.
Content Creator of the Year, Courage, Dr. Lupo, Ewok, Griff. I'm just gonna go Greg. David Martinez,
Jessica.
and Shroud are the 5 choices.
It's been a big year for Star Wars. I'm gonna go Ewok.
Okay. Anybody else? I actually didn't know David, but I follow Shroud and Lupo and Courage and Ewok, and actually the one I follow on here, which I think is unfortunate, Asmongold, I think was one of the bigger Twitch streamers of the year, and he didn't even get mentioned on here, and he did a ton of work with WoW Classic, and I just thought I want to give a shout out to Asmongold. I thought he deserved to be on this list. I do believe he was one of the people that we tried to nominate. Apparently, I was one of the few that saw him there, but I want to make sure he got a shout out. But Ewok is a great choice, by the way. Touche. Anybody else have any thoughts?
I want to know what you're doing for all of these next awards because I'm just going to copy your vote.
You're going to copy. So for me, Jack had a lot of great videos this year, but I've been a big fan of Shroud lately. And Dr. Lupo's been kind of living in Ninja's shadow, so it's actually very difficult. I actually think it's between those 3. I'm going to just go with Shroud. I think he's been playing a lot of different games, real variety streamer, and he's been killing it. And he was one of the ones that I'm going to go with.
I was also thinking Shroud. He's a real creator. He's created a lot of content.
He has created a lot of content.
He's Shroudy.
He's being obnoxious. Do you guys want to just like you just gonna all copy my paper
Yeah,
at
for
this
all
point?
these,
Yeah.
for all,
I was gonna do like the Scantron thing
Okay.
and just go straight down the middle for all of them.
For the people watching and listening, all of the categories are esports left to go, which Andy follows, and the rest of us not so much.
I'm not a big esports guy at all, but I have followed some of Courage's stuff, and I do like him. I think he brings an energy that's not really there with a lot of streamers.
You're correct. He's a great entertainer.
Yeah, so if everyone's going Shroud, I think it's going to be Shroud, but just to recoup some points off my not voting for Apex and Crash Team Nitro, I'm gonna go Jack. I'm gonna go Courage.
I mean, I think Courage is a good choice. He had some really great videos this year that were super funny and.
He signed with YouTube, I
Yep.
think, too.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's correct.
So
That's correct.
I feel good about that one.
Best esports game: Counter-Strike, Dota 2, Fortnite, League of Legends, Overwatch. I think, given what's here, I don't think there's any way around it that League of Legends is going to win. In which
That it is or is
It
not
is or
going to
is
win.
not.
it
going
is
to
going to
win.
win. I think best esports game is going to League of Legends.
I think it's easy because, like, I think Fortnite with the kid who's 16-year-olds winning, the whole thing made news. But I think we forget how big League is. So yeah, I'm going League too.
Yeah, I mean, I think where we're going to see that's that next best esports player is next, and Kyle Buga Gersdorf is going to win that. Actually, is just to go forward a little bit, and I think that covers up for Fortnite. Which, by the way, I thought the Fortnite event in New York was amazing. It was really, really well done. Did a lot of really fun stuff with creator things and the competitive stuff, and that's the reason why I put Kyle down as the winner is because he won and he didn't even look like he was breaking a sweat. I have rarely seen someone clean up at a big event like the final biggest match, $3 million on the line, the whole deal. And I mean, he was like giggling as he just eradicated people. He was amazing, a truly outstanding performance. So like, I think he was best esports player of the year. And I just thought, Fortnite still has a little bit of work, I think, as far as like developing itself as a watchable, repeatable sport kind of thing going forward, even though it does take a ton of skill to do it. I'm interested to see how that develops. And it may be the dark horse winner there, but I definitely think best esports player is that. And we'll just fly through these quick. Best esports team, Astralis, G2 Esports, OG for Dota, San Francisco Shock for Overwatch League, Team Liquid for CSGO. A lot of times, a lot of these old school teams win, being something like Team Liquid, who've been around for a long time. So it's kind of hard to go against Team Liquid. I do kind of feel like G2 Esports and League was like a really interesting story this year, even though their finals were super boring. But I'm going to go with what I think it's been, which has been these old school teams have won these things, and I'm going to go with Team Liquid.
I mean, that's the only one I recognize. I don't know if I want to out myself. I guess I already did.
I know
But-
the shock, just because I followed Overwatch League for a year. That was like
Yeah.
it.
So that, I mean, that's, but I think it could be anything there. It really could be whichever like community kind of like gets out there. Best esports event, Overwatch League Grand Finals, EVO 2019, Fortnite World Cup, IEM Karawas 2019. I don't even see that one. I don't even know. I totally missed that one. League of Legends World Championship 2019 and the International 2019. All the other ones I watched. And my heart would say EVO, which EVO is my favorite tournament every year. It's just the best.
Even as someone who doesn't really follow esports, that's always fun to tune
I
into.
hear the most buzz coming out of Evo than any of the others, I think.
This was my first year paying attention, and it was crazy. I loved it. I'm going Evo.
Yeah, EVO is just, it's funny because these other ones are around just one game. EVO is around multiple games. It's
That's probably part of
open.
it,
It's like, just because of its open format, that makes it really great. That said, if EVO doesn't win, which I think it should, Fortnite might win because it was quite the crazy event. But I don't know if you've seen it. I always like to point this out. The League of Legends World Championships, their opening ceremony was insane. It had like dancing and singing and like holograms. It was nuts. Like it was like Super Bowl halftime caliber opening show. Kind of blew my mind how much they spent on like creating that opening. It was really, really good. But the event itself ended with a 3-0 run by the previously mentioned G2 Esports, and it ended up being really boring as far as the finish. Where EVO every year has great endings. EVO should win this every year until someone gets rid of it.
Until
it
someone
doesn't.
makes something better.
Yeah. Best esports coach. You talk about all the things I know about esports. I don't have a clue. I can't believe. I feel like this is
We
a
should
category.
all vote for one.
This
I feel
is a
like on that one.
category that was added to get people to vote. Is my opinion on this. And so
This is where I'm going to vote for the G2 esports guy then.
Oh, okay. All right. There you go.
Can we all pick one on this one?
Yeah, let's do it. This is all pure speculation. As far
G2
as,
esports guy.
so that's
That's
all
not
right.
all of us picking. Oh, wait.
Oh, I meant each one of us gets one vote. Or, well, 1, 2, 3, 4,
yeah,
5.
we're
Oh,
just
yeah,
gonna-
there's one too many. Never
Hey,
mind.
everyone, once one's picked, you can't pick it.
Yeah, but
Oh, okay.
well.
Okay.
There's
like
6 of them there.
Then I'll
so.
do Nuri Kane Jang for Team Liquid on League.
All right.
Or Nurai Kane Jang.
I guess Danny Sorensen, you're my dude.
Come on, grabs.
All right. And then I'm gonna go with go with Eric on Team Liquid for CS:GO.
Who does that leave?
Koma and Zonic. Or no, you said Danny Sorensen already. Sashka? Sakshka.
It's my dude.
There you go.
Sakshka.
All
All
right.
right. Best esports host. I'm not even gonna read these. I'm just gonna say I really liked Golden Boy.
There we go.
Golden Boy's the choice.
I think Golden Boy's the choice here, so we're just gonna
Is
go
it
ahead and
because
go with
his name's
that.
Alex?
No,
why you like him?
it's actually
That's why I like him.
I think he's done a great job this year. I think he's really been good. Though I think there's talk that he may or may not have the same gig going next year. But I enjoyed watching him lead those things on. So that's it. So next week we'll see who wins. Keep your things. Write your name on the top. We'll turn in all our ballots. Put them under lock and key. Because this is important stuff, everybody. This is important.
Pride points and $5 are at stake.
Exactly. This is what matters. This is what matters. We know you all already know the answers. They're probably listed well before you got there. If you thought this was the dumbest idea you've ever heard in podcast history, write to me at podcast@gameinformer.com. I would love to hear your feedback. I should have done this a week earlier. Is really the answer. I kind of beat myself up. I should have come up with this idea earlier.
I don't know. We'll see. I actually kind of like the idea of
Us already being
everyone
stupid.
but like us being in the dark and everyone but us having the correct answer.
Especially if
laughing
Crash
at
Team
us.
Racing wins and you guys look like
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not going to be the first or last time.
The darkest reality.
But I also
the
like it.
darkest
It has
timeline.
that.
We're already living in it, so.
What is it? Family Feud. When they put the people in the soundproof box while everyone else, and like everyone
Yeah.
knows the right answer, and then they come out and they give those wrong answers, and you just laugh.
Name a type of pizza.
Yeah,
Grape,
I think it does have a sense to that. So we did that. We did that. It is done. What we have left to do is we have left to do community emails. We have our 5th installment of the Game of the Year talks, and that's it. We're just chatting away for the rest of this episode. Thank you all for coming on and playing my dumb game. This game might be better with drinks. I
next
gotta
year.
think of it.
Next
Most
year.
games are.
I gotta tell you, I think that might be the part we screwed up. But it was a fun talk. It's fun to talk about awards. And once again, kudos to Jeff Keighley. He works super hard to get this Game Awards out there. I think it's important. by the way, that games get the kind of respect that they deserve. I know everyone argues about there's not enough, developers up there. There's too many like reveals or kind of just like
Or the weird
like
sponsorship
previews or
stuff.
the weird sponsorship stuff. You know what? You can focus on those things if you want, or just remember that we're celebrating games and we're getting game celebrations out there, and they're happening and they're big and they're important. And I've supported the Game Awards since they started. I supported Spike back in the day. I'll continue to, and I do that for the one sole reason of that anytime we can celebrate games as a group, as a community, on a global stage or even a small stage, it's always important to remember and celebrate games, and this is a celebration of games. So for all my little jabs and everything like that, it's important to remember that this stuff is great, and I'm excited for it. So thank you all. We'll catch you in the next segment. Hello, and welcome back to the Game Informer Show. I'm Andy McNamara, your host. I have a new panel here to discuss community emails, which you can be a part of by sending an email to podcast@gameinformer.com with your favorite questions or comments. I do enjoy reading the comments. They crack me up. And the questions are always helpful. And when you make weird games that you ask us to play, I enjoy at least going through them if we do not do them on air. But we do try to do them on air. And I have taken on a new thing where I try to do the questions a little bit longer, a little bit more in depth. So hopefully you like that. Hopefully you're enjoying it. With me today is... and I like it. You don't think you've ever sat so close to me. It's very
really?
nice. Yes,
Oh,
I have Ben Reeves.
I feel
here.
drawn to you today.
Yeah, it's very nice. It's very
Stay
nice.
away.
Andy Reiner.
You guys should go to lunch together one of these days.
No, I mean,
that would
like,
be nice.
he always. I think
Get to know him.
he comes on the show and he sits on the other side.
Well-
He's like, he wants to get as far away from me as possible. I'm saying this time he got tricked. He was the last one in the room and he got stuck with this chair.
It's no offense. I like to sit over there when Ben Hansen was hosting as well.
So
Just because you don't have to turn your head as much.
Yeah,
If you
I'm
can
a
just look one
swiveler.
way. It's
Yeah.
great.
yeah, that's true. There is that advantage. There's an advantage. Well, today, thank you for sacrificing your neck muscles
Yeah, my
for the
neck.
good
Oh,
for the good of the team. Andy Reiner, welcome
Hello.
back.
What's up?
Jeff Cork,
Hello.
how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing very well. How was your weekend?
I was adequate.
Yeah, all right, adequate. And Alex Dadnick is in the box. How you doing back there?
I'm good. For the record, though, I'd sit closer, but you won't let me out of this damn box.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. And everybody still gets mad at me. They're like, it's a control room. And I'm like, it's a box.
Wait,
When
did
you
people
look at
actually
it.
write in saying
Yeah,
it's not a
great.
box?
It's actually, I love that we have this weird, like, discussions about nothing. It's kind of like a Seinfeld episode that I'm going to continue to do. Don't ask me why.
Is a room a box? That's an interesting question.
Yes.
Well, it's not the room.
And what's in the box, really?
It's that the glass frame is a box. Do you see? It's a box that I see him in.
It's a
Well,
square,
that's
man.
a window. That's
It's a
not
square.
A box.
Square is a box.
No, you need some dimension there. Right?
Yeah. I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one.
But when you take a test, it says fill in the box completely, and that is shaped like a
There,
square.
that's a lie.
Thank
I won't,
you, Jeff
I won't even
Cork.
fill it in.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Did you
Thank
know
you.
that
Unless it has
a,
dimension.
Thank you. Fill in the circle. It's also just a circle.
Yeah.
It's not three-dimensional.
It doesn't say fill in the room.
Well, a circle is a circle, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
did you know that a square is a rectangle?
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I got it wrong on a test because I said this is a square. Mm-hmm. And it's also a rectangle, and my teacher marked me off on that in third grade. And I went up to her, I was like, "This is correct."
Yeah.
She had to look it up in the book, and I got points back.
Yeah.
Oh, look at you.
So you can challenge your teachers.
And then you got her fired?
Yeah, I went to the principal.
That is the
messed
hardest
up.
thing about being a parent is like sometimes my kids will tell me some story in school, and I'm like, I have to bite my tongue and just be like, it doesn't matter. None of this matters. You're like, I'm older than all of your teachers, and I would roll my eyes at them so much. So you just do you.
I'm sure as like a
I don't
parent,
say that.
you realize
oh yeah, you should really listen to your teachers.
that's gotta be so weird because like in my head as a kid, like all of my teachers were ancient, like years old, but like as a parent, you're like, oh no, they're all really young and dumb.
Yeah.
Well, we're not calling all teachers young and dumb.
Well, I think we can, right?
Yeah.
Sweeping statements are always a good thing.
Smart
Yeah.
maneuver.
You want to talk
This
about that
podcast
box
is going to
again?
get burned to the ground.
Yeah, how about
Hey,
that
man,
box?
it's my box.
I
The
would
window
like to say
box.
teachers are great and they work hard and it's a tough job. And
Y'all
I
deserve a
don't-
raise.
Yeah, my
I
sister-in-law is a
definitely-
teacher.
Yeah,
She's
so
fantastic.
So
She
I
works
just want
so
to put
hard.
that out there.
Yeah.
Teachers are important. So we have questions that are not going to get us burned to the ground.
We'll see.
Hopefully, that's correct. For the podcast. So one of the things last week we did this like kind of Lords of Gaming thing, and I wanted to get just one comment in. Someone sent in that someone should have mentioned Shining Force to come back.
Oh, yeah,
Robert
yeah.
from Utah, and I just wanted to throw that out there quick because That's a good call. I
Yeah.
saw that
It's a
comment. I was
good
like,
series.
Shining Force.
Sega.
I feel like
Yeah.
it almost has in Fire Emblem. There's a lot of
Yeah.
Shining Force in Fire Emblem. So
That's
go play
very
Fire
true.
Emblem.
Yeah, but you
But
know.
also it should come back. I mean,
Yeah. Okay. That's a little. So here we go. Archie from Belfast, Northern Ireland here. What movie director would you like to see make a game? And what game director would you like to see make a movie? I'd love to see Kurosawa, I know he's dead, make a samurai game.
That's not possible. You can't do that.
Well, we could live a little or dream a little. I mean, and I'd love to see Ken Levine bring Bioshock to the silver screen. Discuss. Thank you, Archie from Belfast. Which, by the way, I'd like to point out another weird thing. We got a lot of emails from overseas. Like I went through a lot, like all over, like Scotland. It's been crazy. I can't believe the podcast reaches so far. And so thanks everyone on the
cool.
international listenership. That's really great.
I want Shakespeare to do Zelda. Is
That famous director.
Yeah, the famous director.
Shakespeare.
I don't know. I don't understand the rules.
That's kind of. I mean, that would be crazy,
It would be
right?
interesting.
That
I guess
would would be insane.
You could write it in the style of and see what it ended
You
up being.
could, but honestly, if you could go back in time and talk to him and try to explain the game, just even a concept of game.
A
would be hard.
game.
But a Zelda.
Because that's what would trip him up is like, what's going on in this particular type of video game?
Yeah, that one.
Oh, no.
Oh, boomerang!
You'd
Yeah.
be viewed as like some kind of demon and like stabbed with a floating dagger like quickly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The guy with the weird accent. That's what they call me.
I think that's a great answer, by the way. I really like that one.
I
So,
don't know. I think they're cool.
what game developer, director? I guess it could be any director, programmer
To make a movie.
to make a movie.
You're just asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you because you started.
Well, I joked earlier. I don't even know if it's a joke, but like the joke answer is Kojima, right? Because he's practically making movies.
He is practically making
so
movies,
He's like
yeah.
halfway there already. I think it'd be interesting to.
Do you think he'd be good at it?
I think he'd be better at making a TV show than a movie.
There you go.
Because sticking within the restraints
Sure.
of
Yeah,
a
2 hours.
commercially
Yeah.
viable film, like time-wise, would be really difficult for him, I bet.
Well, realistically, I don't think.
I mean, his show would
anybody-
be 3 hours long. His TV show.
Well, he'd need a
His
season.
half-hour
every
sitcom
episode.
would be
Yeah.
3 hours. Is what you're saying?
Yeah.
I don't think anybody would be good at it. Is the thing. They're so different skills. Like that's why when everybody gets excited when this famous director is going to come over and do this game, I don't usually get excited because it's like different skill sets. So like, yeah, I like your films, but like that doesn't mean you're going to make awesome games.
I disagree.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of conceptual stuff that you can have other writers and stuff like that help you flesh out your ideas. But I think directors kind of lead the charge. I think what happened with God of War with Cory Barlog, kind of putting himself into that role and the father kind of figure scenario for Kratos, who was this just unbound like killer in the past, and he actually fleshed that character out. I'd love to see him do a movie. I think he would have the chops to do that. Like he has a vision and he sticks to it, and then they execute on it. And I
what
think that's
film
cool.
franchise would you put him on?
Would it have to be an existing,
I don't know.
or could he
Shakespeare
bring
in
God,
Love,
whatever you
or
want.
could he bring like God of War to?
Oh yeah, sure. Make the God of War movie.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be watching the God of War movie going like, I wish you would have spent all this time to make a God of War game. That would be my only thing with that, is that like, I do think there's that. I think you're both right. I tend to agree with Ben in just that like, I do think they are separate skill sets, but we're dreaming here a little bit, so we're definitely like breaking the rules a bit, because I do think there are repetition at your craft is how you get really great at your craft, and like a lot of these guys who get really great at making games, this isn't their first. They don't come out the gate with like breakthrough games, right? And I think directors have that same challenge of like, you really need to hone that craft and listen to feedback. That's like the kind of Kojima joke, like when someone's an editor and says you should edit this down, learn to listen to make a craft that makes it viewable to the audience. But we're living in the dream world, so I think all answers are acceptable or whatever.
I guess whenever a game is adapted to screenplay by Hollywood, it's not good, right?
Yeah.
So why not try bring the game people on, see if they can do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd
Spend a couple $100 million to see what happens.
I would definitely love. I've talked to some of my friends who are devs, and you're like, oh, they're making that movie. That's really cool. You guys are on board. And they're like, we just licensed it away. We're not going to really have any feedback, and that always makes me sad because I'm like, I do think they have good ideas, or at least a good perception of like who the character is and what the character is supposed to do.
Yeah.
And like that's lost sometimes, depending on. I mean, I'm not trying to general statement. All directors are going to get that wrong, but a lot of directors don't necessarily understand the core thing about that game that matters, right? That's always kind of scary about the game movie stuff.
I'll put Corey on Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones. Oh,
good.
That's the father-son dynamic. I guess you'd be dealing with Mutt Jones. Is that the name of his son?
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That'd be
It's
cool.
in the lore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Tarantino. I just would want to see him do something crazy in video games.
It would be kind of crazy to see what he would do in video games.
He'd probably have to be with like Rockstar, that budget, that time frame. Seems like
sure.
it takes him a long time
And
to
do
make films.
GTA.
Well, not even that, but just his idea in. I think that developer
Sure.
would probably fit his agenda.
Yeah. I mean, he could make a pretty crazy game. There's no doubt about that. And Jeff.
I think Edgar Wright would probably be a good candidate.
that's
That's
a
a
good
good
choice.
choice. That's a
Oh,
good one.
nice choice.
That is a good choice.
Yeah.
You win.
All right. Thank you.
I mean, it's kind
I don't
of
know
is,
how I
but
can
I mean, like,
follow
would you
that.
have him do something different? I mean, would you have him do?
No, I would just let him kind of do what you do. I think that's why we like that's why we're picking these people, right? Is because we like what they do in one medium and would
Yeah.
like to see how it goes over in the other. I think, yeah.
So you wouldn't have any kind of destination be like a action movie. Like even if you went to a genre, could you generalize it all with that?
Action.
Action.
Yeah.
No,
Okay,
good old
right.
action.
You need to do a
good old
free-to-play
action.
shooter.
Free to play shooter, exactly.
What do you do?
Yeah.
And how about the other way?
Oh boy, that one is really tough. I don't know that I have a good answer on deck for it.
It is tough.
It is really tough because I think a lot of times, like I enjoy video games so much, and I think the stories are sometimes pretty good. But I don't know that I think the best game story is something that I want to see in a movie. Like I don't know.
I think some of the best video game directors are like really technical people. Like I'm thinking just Will Wright, for example. I think you'd make a terrible movie director. Like, like
Yeah.
you want somebody who's like really strong in like story, I would think.
You look at a lot of the Naughty Dog directors. Like
So
they're very
I was
cinematic,
thinking
right?
Neil Druckmann actually. Like he was writing a script for a while for Last of Us.
Ken Levine's a good choice too.
Yeah.
That
Which
was
is what he
mentioned.
had
Yeah.
down here.
He was mine initially. I was going to say Ken.
Yeah.
But you
it
want
is-
someone from the cinematics team of a studio that you don't know their name necessarily, rather than like a person who is just kind of managing a bunch of different teams, right? You want,
Yeah.
like a really
How about Blizzard?
Blizzard. I love it.
That's a good choice. No, Blizzard.
Yeah,
I think.
whoever
I mean,
those
like,
directors are.
Yeah.
All of Blizzard.
All of you work on the movie.
Yeah.
I've definitely watched plenty of trailers from Blizzard and gone like, I'd watch that whole movie.
Yeah.
Like, there's no doubt. It doesn't even have to be that good. I would watch it in that kind of, like, if you just gave me a lot of like cool looking scenes, like kind of like some of the animes that I like, that they don't have to have maybe the story elements that we're pushing for here. That I'm like, I'm in on the grandiose ridiculousness of it.
We could also learn once and for all if that Blizzard cinematics are like the first awesome bite of cotton candy, and it's like, oh, I just want more and more and more of this, and then you get it, and you're like, oh, 2 hours of this is way too much.
Yeah, it's
Like,
true.
Should have
It's
got the
true.
large.
5-minute bursts are perfect for them.
Yeah,
You know,
no.
we don't know
We
one
don't
way or the
know.
other.
We don't know. Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't know. It could be. It could be. I actually liked the. I thought I was going to really hate it. I didn't think the World of Warcraft movie was that bad. Which I know I'm like. It's not a great
But
movie.
hold that up next to those shorts, though. Those
It's
shorts
not.
are
Yeah,
so
the
much
shorts.
cooler.
The shorts are way
Way
better.
cooler.
And like real movies, quote unquote. I'm kind of dissing
Right.
games a little bit. Are definitely better on the the whole scale. But it was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. All right, Alex, you got any?
Yeah, I agree with everything. I don't think there
Very
should
smart.
be that.
New guy is super smart.
Yeah, I know what I'm doing.
Oh, yeah. Perfect yes man.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I don't think there should be a crossover. I think these two are very different genres, but in the guise of the question, Denis Villeneuve, which I never pronounced his last name right, I think would be great concepting like Halo. I think he has a knack for sci-fi stories that I think could be pretty cool. And then
I'm unfamiliar with the director. What has the director done?
he did Arrival and Blade Runner.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
All right.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
2049.
Yeah.
So he's an understanding of sci-fi that it's not just bombastic, like shooting and that kind of stuff. Like I really like his work.
Give him the Control sequel.
Yeah,
That'd be interesting.
there you go. And then for the flip-flop, and tell me if I get his last name wrong, but I think I got it. Brian Intihar
Yeah.
from Insomniac. He and his team made my favorite Peter Parker over the last, while, I'll say, and it'd be cool to see what they would do with a Marvel-sized budget.
I mean,
they probably
they
had a
did have a
Marvel-sized
Marvel-
budget.
Yeah, true. Yeah. But I like a film budget.
Yeah.
I know Brian loves his Marvel movies. I think he would love to do that. Yeah, that's an interesting choice. That's a great choice. I mean, that was a great Spider-Man story. Really, really great. So, yeah, that's good choices. For me, I think it's tough because I don't really like directors or anything like that. I kind of just don't know what to do. I still feel like, and I'm not even saying that I think this would be good. I still love the idea of someone making Steven Spielberg get a real game done that's not a block game, just because I want to see someone, or like Scorsese, like who's like considered the best at that, have to try to do games. Like I'm just kind of interested, like even if they fail, I want to see them, because sometimes too, I think sometimes they can be dismissive of games a little bit, and I want them to understand like how hard games can be or whatever. So that would be why I would pick someone like that.
So you're putting it through the crucible more than anything else.
Really, yeah, kind of.
All right.
You know, just because I think that that's an interesting thing. Maybe not that the art out the other side would be all that amazing.
You didn't play Boom Blocks. That was all Spielberg. He coded that himself.
Were you allowed? Because that was like they're blocks that had like eyes and smiles on them or something like that. Like
he
that
drew
was the
it
person
on
that,
a
like
piece of paper.
like anyone could have done that, right? Like I mean something where like they try to do something, you know, compelling.
Right.
You know, I mean like Spielberg. I look at like Jaws is one of my favorite movies of all time. Like I love Jaws. Like it's so good. Like try to bring that tension to a game. I'd love to see them, you know, like try to make that kind of like horror adventure, right? Like bring that kind of his instincts there to a game, but it's hard. And so that's why I'd kind of like to see it.
Well, and with Spielberg too, he has there's like a optimism to all of his movies. There's a feeling of warmth that I think could do well in a game if he had the right team around him.
So that's one, and I think you know, I would love to see. I think I go with Druckmann. I'd like to see the Last of Us team do that, but then once again, I go down that same path of like, or I'd rather them make another game.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the thing there, which is tough. But we're dreaming here. It would be cool.
Movie colon the video game colon the movie the game.
Well, you know, I am waiting for someday. This is like a little weird tangent, but like I think someday someone will get a big enough budget to like make their own like everything at once. Do you know what I mean? That someone will be able to like make the movie and make the game.
Oh.
Do you know what I
same
mean?
time,
Like
yeah.
all at the same time, and like, you know, put in, you know, ARGs and other things like that in the game that and in the world and in the movie that kind of all interact together. Like I think someone somewhere along the way will go, you know, I want this budget that's this ridiculous and to do all these things and
Using
pull it
the
off.
same models like a Star Wars game, Star Wars
Yeah,
movie.
something like that you could, someone could do that at some point, you know, and maybe it is Kojima who does that, but you know, I could see that. I mean, I could see that happening.
Kind of what the Wachowskis said they were doing with that Matrix game, right?
yeah.
They
Yeah.
said they were working on it when they started the film. I don't know. They were gamers, I think, right?
Yeah.
They said they cared at least.
Yeah.
I don't
That's
know.
all we need.
I don't think.
Just care about it.
Enter the
don't think it
Matrix
cared.
is a better sequel than the Matrix movie sequels.
The game, you're saying?
The story, yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, you might be right.
Well, I mean, it's really hard to argue that one because those sequels are, they're just, that first movie is so genius and those sequels are just not good. And aren't they making another one?
Yes,
They
Matrix
are.
4.
I hope it's good. I do hope it's good. Do they have Keanu?
Yes,
I think so.
and there's someone else they just cast. I was like, what?
They cast the two.
Huh. All right.
Boo.
So
Word.
I'm gonna jump around a little bit here. I think this
Can you
one's
jump before that joke?
No, I can't.
okay.
I can't.
I'm still thinking about it. I really like it.
Dear Andy and the McNamaras, which made me laugh. Greg from Houston, Texas here, which I grew up a Houston Oiler fan, so a little shout out, Houston, Texas. That's where I'm from, by the way, Houston, Texas. So shout out to that. They said that I'm doing a spectacular job on the podcast, so thank you for that. I appreciate the love and enjoying it. But he's got a question. which is, you guys have visited many, many different game studios and met a ton of different developers over the years. So I'm curious, if you all had excellent game development talent, or just talent, right, that we could go and work.
Gosh, I wish I had some of that.
Yeah, just talent. We could go like be an art director, game developer, whatever level, coding. Like all of a sudden you're the greatest coder in the world. Which studio would you like to work for? Let's say you could get hired at any studio and work on their current game, which you would choose and why. Which developer? Which game? If you want, it could be a game or studio in the past. It could be in the future. So it's just kind of like, if you ever were to be a game developer, and we're good enough to be a game developer, and develop games and had those chops, which I think narratively, like maybe we have those chops.
could.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
sure.
know what I mean? Like, and there's other things like that. But
Brian Intihar was
there's
one of us.
Yeah, there's lots of people that used to be journalists who have found success in games and been on to be great game creative directors. But for the sake of this, where would you go? What studio is the kind of the dream studio for you to go work at?
I mean, I'm not saying this because you just mentioned Brian's name, but I always thought Insomniac would be a fun place to work. It seems like they're a fun group, and they just made Spider-Man, which probably like increased my love of that.
Yeah, you're a big Spider-Man fan.
Yeah, I also thought like I would love to get into narrative, but I also thought for a while in college I was like, if I was going to get into games, I thought animation was interesting. I always thought like I'm not a very artistic person in the sense of like drawing or being able to model things, but I think making the model move is really interesting to me, and I thought that would be a fun area to explore.
Yeah, that's cool. No, and Insomniac's won like best place to work, like in the like
Yeah.
Los Angeles areas, like
Right.
I don't even know, decades. Like they win it like all the time, and Ted Price is a great guy, and that's a good choice. It's a good studio.
I mean, Respawn Entertainment.
Yeah,
One,
now,
because they have
One,
Star Wars.
Well, they only make great games, so
Yeah.
there's good job security there. And then just working on Star Wars is like still my dream. Like someday.
When you go there, can you bring back Titanfall, please?
No, I would absolutely kill
Perfect,
it.
thank you.
For more Star Wars.
I mean, I think they're going to make more Titanfall. Just on a
They
side
should make
point.
more
I
Star
think they'll
Wars.
make. I mean, I think they're going to make both.
No, they should just all Star Wars.
Can they add
If you
giant
have
mechs
any
to Star
free
Wars?
team should be making a new Star Wars game.
Do mechs exist in the Star Wars universe?
Sure, the ATS.
Could you
yeah, that's
could you
kind of-
make too many Star Wars games? I mean, I think
No,
that's
no.
Here, this is an interesting
No,
question
no.
that someone I'm asking this myself of you, and I heard someone mention it, which is like one of the things that was great about Fallen Order was that it had been so long.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? That we really got that moment of like, I miss this. You know, it's just one of those things I always give Nintendo credit for. They could blast a Mario game at us every year, and then we'd go, another Mario game. But they always make us wait.
Yeah.
Right? And then by the time you get it, you're like, it's another Mario game. Rad. And I definitely feel to some degree, if they were just pumping out Star Wars action games all the time,
Well-
we maybe wouldn't have appreciated it as much as we did. What do you think?
Here's the thing with Star Wars is there are so many different sides to it, right? Like, yes, you can have too many Jedi games where you're just playing as third-person Jedi, but give me a smuggler, give me a space game.
Okay. Yeah.
An RPG again, like the ensemble cast. Like,
Right.
there's so many different things you could do. I don't think you could.
You'd
If
run
you
out.
kept making the same one, yeah, you're going to run into trouble.
I think you're right about it. Like we were hungry. I remember playing Battlefront. Was that like 2 years ago? The single player campaign, and like recognized that it was pretty weak, but I was still like kind of hungry for a Star Wars game and playing it and enjoying it. Like
Yeah.
the single player game was like.
yeah, exactly.
So I think
There's
that's
some
part of
truth.
it. Is like I really want that experience. I really want a game, but there aren't that many of them.
Yeah, there's so much you could do with that universe.
Yeah, that's a good choice. Yeah, and I you might know a little bit about Star Wars.
Just a little.
Well,
Yeah,
whatever. And
No gelatinous bouncy pads in my game.
Yeah. And so, Cork, you would go work on Tap Titans,
Tap
right?
Titans, absolutely. Game Hive. No.
You know, we should have
I
more
would not,
tapping.
first of all, the preface is I don't want to work at any game. They work too hard. I think that like the idea of crunch, I think, is bogus, at least for my lifestyle
Yeah.
of wanting to go
How
home.
do you feel about Munch?
I like munch.
Yeah.
I'm definitely on that end of the spectrum. But if I had to do it, I would say that I'd like to work on like the contemporary AC games at Ubisoft. I like the direction that series has taken over the past few years, and it's kind of like exactly in my wheelhouse of the type of games I like to play. So it'd be fun to kind of help steer
What
that in some
historical-
immeasurable way.
What historical period would you want to work on? Like, they gave you the choice.
Oh boy, you'd have to do like Minnesota in the early 2000s, right?
Like when I first
I'm
moved
an
to Tennessee.
expert.
What's this pink slip I just got?
Exactly.
I'm out.
Oh darn. Now we can go back to my regular job.
So if you went and worked on contemporary AC,
Yeah.
would you continue down the path of like kind of having the kind of modern game and the like period game where they really leaned into the animus periods, or do you like the more kind of like just games that are games for the game's sake?
Introductory cutscene is someone tripping on the animus and the cord gets yanked out entirely, and then they're like, well, this is out of commission. And then someone will go, and then they'll just start daydreaming about some fun stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Until the credits.
Exactly. Oh, well, I guess it didn't matter. Yeah.
It's the purest thing I've ever heard.
Alex.
So if this were a creative position I was going for, I kind of would lean towards Double Fine, just because I feel like there's room to do something a little bit more out there, a little bit more creative.
More creative than Double Fine?
No, that's what
He's saying you would have. Yeah.
I would go there to work to do something creative.
Oh,
there.
gotcha. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. That they have less boundaries.
Yeah,
Yes.
I feel like I could like throw like wacky ideas out there and they'd stick more than some other developers. But game wise though, it's Fable 2 is one of my favorites, so I'd love to be a part of the team wherever that's being developed, who like brought Fable back to like the god tier that it was at one point with Fable 2.
And what it deserves.
What it deserves.
Gotcha. Oh, all right. Yeah, I think this is a really hard question overall, just because I'm with Jeff. I'd like just want to, I don't want to like work on all of them and like do all the things. So would definitely be the dream. But I think it's just because I've known them for so long. It would be probably. I'd want to say. I think I'd want to say Naughty Dog, but I play so many Blizzard games that probably Blizzard is the place that I like.
It's like in your blood now. Like
yeah,
World of Warcraft.
like if they let me be the creative director of World of Warcraft tomorrow, which I personally think is a great idea, I would love to run WoW. Would be pretty cool.
They got a nice campus too. They got their own Starbucks.
They got their own Starbucks.
Yeah.
So, but I have a feeling my phone's not gonna ring. Not gonna ring. But yeah, wow.
It might be
wow.
a prank call.
Maybe. I think they got people with a lot more experience
Yeah.
doing that. But yeah, I think WoW would probably be it. But like Naughty Dog's my close friend. Just like I love the way. The thing I have with like World of Warcraft, this thing is the game that's been going on for 15 years. Like I can't believe. Imagine if you worked on a game for 15 years. But I love that they've always changed things up. Like had Crash, had Uncharted, gone to The Last of Us. The fact that they really try as a studio to change things up is pretty amazing and pretty awesome. So that's an interesting question. Thank you for that one. I really appreciate that. Greg from Houston, very cool, very interesting. So this next question is one that we discussed in a kind of pre-production meeting, and I was like, I don't know if we should do this because I have not tested this to make sure this is accurate, but I think it's a good talker either way.
Yeah.
So what we're gonna do is, hi GI crew, this is from Noel Person, or Noel?
Pearson?
Noel? Is it Noel or Noel? N-O-L?
Noel.
Noel?
N-O-E-L?
Oh, boy.
I think it's Noel.
I think it's Noel too. I like that it's just Person.
Noel Gallagher?
Yeah. See, that's the thing is we're missing some information here. So I'm sorry if we're ruining your name.
Even if it's not her name, it's her name now.
it is.
Or
Okay.
his name.
His
Yeah.
name.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's kind of like, we are missing a pronoun there, they. So thank you. I'm so glad the podcast continues under the meandering eye of Andy, and it definitely meanders. Also, don't make the podcast shorter. Wow, thank you so much. I use it for commutes and exercising, so there's that. There's the observation here is that there are an overwhelming number of action games that get onto Game Informer's Game of the Year. Nothing against action games in general, but GI's Game of the Year list is majorly action orientated. Even the RPGs that make it on the list tend to be RPGs like Skyrim or Mass Effect. Here's a quick rundown of GI's Game of the Years with my interpretation of the genre. So there, Ryan and I were discussing ahead of time. Like we were like, there were times we didn't give Game of the Year,
Yeah, we just did the top 50 and just left it.
and so those aren't represented here. So this might be this might be disinformation, but it's an interesting list either way. And sometimes when I look at these answers, I'm like, that's probably what we gave it. Do you know what I mean?
The last 10 years look right, if nothing else.
Yeah. So
I do have it up. That you guys, we have the list here.
No,
So,
you do.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I'll
The
correct
real
it.
list.
you'll correct
Yeah.
it if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So 1992 Street Fighter 2, fighting.
That's not an action game.
Well, they put genre 1 and genre 2 that it's just an action game in general, right?
Well, they're all going to be
genre
action.
two.
That's what we get to argue at the end. This is what we get to argue at the end. Mortal Kombat, fighting.
All we do is fighting games, apparently.
Donkey Kong Country, platformer. Donkey Kong Country 2, platformer. Now, there's no way those two Donkey Kongs came that close together, did they?
Yeah, year
That's
after
what
year.
it says.
Yeah.
Really? That's insane. Mario 64, platformer.
We really like the platformers for years.
Final Fantasy 7. You guys might remember that, 1997. 1998, Ocarina of Time. 1999, Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Pony Hawk.
I know, Pony Hawk. that would be... well, there's that Bird Skater game coming too, right?
Yeah.
There it is.
2000 was Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. 2001 was Metal Gear Solid 2. 2002 was GTA 3. 2003 was Wind Waker. 2004 was Halo 2. 2005 RE4. 2006 Twilight Princess. I think what the point here is that a lot of these, they all have a lot of like action platformers, that they can get and fall into that larger thing. And so RE4, Twilight Princess, Bioshock, GTA 4, Uncharted 2, Red Dead Redemption, Skyrim, Mass Effect 3, Last of Us, Dragon Age Inquisition, Witcher 3, Overwatch, Breath of the Wild, God of War.
Those are all right.
Well, I mean, all right. Oh, you mean his choices?
Yeah, those are, man, that's a killer lineup of games.
That is a killer. And I think, too, to your point, like, is there a ton of JRPGs on here? Are like even the FPS games, which we do tend to put under action a lot now, GTA, things that there's a lot of action games there. I think that's just because we like our games to have a lot of action, right?
Yeah, JRPGs aren't that great.
You were ripping on them earlier today.
That just not for me.
I will admit, I'm with you a little bit, Jeff. I used to think it was the greatest genre ever.
Absolutely.
There was a time in my life where I was like, I could not get enough of them. Like as I developed, my own game taste, right, which changes over time. There was a period in the 90s where I was like, if it wasn't a JRPG, I was like, garbage.
Yeah.
And then just, I don't know what happened, but at some point I was like, I don't want any more, like, I've lost my memory stories. I don't want to just like have like slow, methodical, like walk through a forest and all these like random encounters appear every 5 seconds. Like all those things just started to like wear on me for some strange reason. I don't know why. I couldn't pin on it, but I definitely have less affection for them than I used to.
Yeah.
But I understand why people do love them because there was a point in my time in my life where I loved them, right? So like,
Well, games evolve, right? They get better, and some kind of systems and conventions from JRPGs just have remained the same in a lot of those games. And
that's a genre
like
that's
random encounters is one in particular. Like if I'm just walking and all of a sudden I go to an encounter, it's just like, why does this exist at this point?
I think for me, it's getting like the stories are more sophisticated, and they're also aligning more closely with anime that inspired them in the first place in a lot of ways, and that's just a thing that I don't like a whole lot. I don't bear anyone any.
ill will. Yeah.
I mean, if you're into that, that's awesome, but like I don't like that.
How many Western developed games are turn-based RPGs? Like, there's not that much overlap, right? 'Cause I'm trying to think of something that would be like that style of game, but might have the more narrative-driven, something that's more narrative-driven and that we're used
Like
to.
Divinity, stuff like that.
Yeah, maybe that's the closest. I don't know. Yeah, stuff like that. Wasteland, which is more of like tactical.
Baldur's Gate.
Well,
Yeah.
Obsidian's done them
Yeah.
on PC, right?
Those feel old
Oh
now,
yeah,
even.
BioWare.
Yeah.
to a
Yeah, I mean,
degree.
they've all
KOTOR.
been done here.
Just not a lot of modern games.
Yeah.
I guess active combat, right? Maybe not so much turn-based.
Well, I always felt like that was the thing, and maybe that's why this list represents that to some degree. Like I loved that they took like the kind of story and giant worlds and world building that was going on in JRPGs. That was the thing that I liked, and then they put them into areas that were much more accessible to me as a player and much more engaging to me because the combat was more like action based, right? To follow through on this, that's what I mean, Skyrim, the like shield sword thing. I mean, let's be real, it wasn't that great, right? You know what I mean? And like when you'd go casting and shoot fireballs, it wasn't the greatest action of all time, but it was fun to have it be represented that way, and for you to like travel through the world and do those things and conquer things that way. And that was just technology kind of catching up and like those worlds coming together. And I think that's what I think that's what we like about a lot of those games as we move forward, right?
Well, just the freedom, like, anytime you're in an encounter in Skyrim or games like that, you have the chance to just run off into the woods and flee. You know what I mean? Whereas in JRPGs, it's very much
you select run.
You can hit run and maybe they get away.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't. You're usually just kind of locked in. So I don't know, just having that freedom, like of feeling like it's actually in your hands. It's not just a dice roll behind the scenes that's saying yes or no.
And I mean, I'm hopeful. I mean, that's the great thing about indie game development now is that there's always someone who loves some certain style and doing something really interesting in that space. RPG wise, going backwards and doing something, and like they take off from time to time, and fans really go nuts for them. And I think there's a reason for that. We like moving forward, and we also like looking back at the same time too. But I remember the joke being like playing GTA 2 and going like, this 2D stuff is really neat, but boy, I wish it was more like Driver and had a 3D world, and but you could do all the things that you do in this game, but do it in the 3D game where it's just driving.
What if you could get out of the car?
Yeah, and kind of like you go down that thing, and all of a sudden like GTA 3 happens, and you're like this.
Yeah.
That would be really cool. And I think we do that even with like kind of like modern games. And I think that's one of the things people liked about Breath of the Wild. They were like, I always have to kind of follow the same thing and go to the same dungeon over and over again. And with Breath of the Wild, they were like, nope. Here you go. And like that kind of change of the constraints and that you could do it in any order makes those things exciting. And those typically, in my view, to follow back to the thing, tend to have action involved in them in some way, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to his or her point, our list skewing action, I feel like the industry skews action because like you're making games, you're making interactive, like has some element of like, tends to have some element of combat. So like action games make up a large percentage of the industry as a whole.
Yeah,
so it
they
makes
do.
sense that our game of the years are mostly action, but I do see a good mix. Like there's a sports game on there. There's
a sports game on there.
Yeah, there's a bunch of platformers and fighting games. And to your point, like as the indie scene diversifies, like you have things where you can have like an RPG that has no combat in it, like Disco Elysium this year, and like that game's great.
Yes.
So I hope to see more of that in the future.
Yeah, I love it when we all know AAA is going down one path when they kind of go the other way. They zig when everyone else is zagging, for lack of a better term, to kind of put those different kind of games out there because that does make them interesting. Even kind of a little bit of a to the Star Wars point that like it had been a while, and when you've been away from something and getting to go back and enjoy those worlds, it's always fun. And you guys have anything you want to add on this kind of like game of the year list, other than we think it's great because we made it?
Yeah, it was
Perfect.
Never made a wrong choice.
I was just thinking more about Final Fantasy and where that might have gone wrong or whatever. And it's when they started dabbling with MMOs and then just making sequels to their numbered entries that I feel like I lost a connection to that series, whereas before it was very much the innovator. They had a really rapid pace for releasing those, and now it's like we get a proper one a generation, maybe. So I think that they were the leader of the JRPG, right? Like
They were.
that was
Yeah.
the game, and it's just kind of fallen off. I liked 15 a lot, but yeah, it was kind of sad to see that happen, right? Like,
And it was
they
a
kinda lost its
series
way.
that did a good thing of like I think early on, which I always thought was smart for game things to do, which they were like, there's names that you'll see that are familiar, but they're supposed to be their own adventures. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that it's like that it's this is the one. It's all, even though it's number 8.
Yeah.
It's its own thing in that own world. And that's one of the things I had to your answer earlier about Assassin's Creed. That's one of the things I've always liked about Assassin's Creed is that it broke away from its own conventions all the time, which I think is the sign of a great game world and what you can do with it. So I agree. I would love to see Final Fantasy do more things and have more games, but they've definitely had this last 10 years not as good as their first
right.
first 10 years, right? But that doesn't mean they can't bring it back, and I think everyone's excited for the remake, even though it's going to take like 20 years for us to get through all the parts, right?
Oh,
Is that like the
that
estimate?
is like our next decade, I bet. I'm not
You know
even
what I mean?
joking.
I mean, it's going to all be fine. I mean, if they're as big as
God.
they say they are,
Yeah, and it takes them as long to make.
it's going to be a lot.
PS6, we'll finally see the end.
And I mean, I think it's interesting too that we've seen a lot of people, well, especially with RE2, they've made that a remake that they it's a remake. You know what I mean? That takes inspiration from the original, but really redefines it in a lot of ways. how much more we'll see that. And there's also that rumored RE3 that's doing the same thing, which is interesting.
By the time you're listening to this or watching this,
Yes, may
it
not
might
be a
already be
rumor
real.
anymore.
If
It
it's
might
in
be
that
real.
Sony thing on
If it is in
Tuesday,
that, which has been talked
it's
about.
Monday as of this recording.
So we will see in that regard.
Not that it's a big deal, but there was one error that I caught a little late. In 2002, it was Grand Theft Auto Vice City that was Game of the Year, not GTA 3.
Oh,
weird.
okay, all right.
Yeah,
All
there
right.
must be an error in 2014 where we gave Dragon Age Inquisition. I don't think that's right.
That was supposed to be Destiny.
Yeah, right.
Which one did you think it was supposed to be?
Dragon Age Inquisition. What year was that? Oh, that was the Shadow Mordor year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Destiny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Destiny.
Yeah. Okay. Fixed.
Give the award
We
to
figured it
Gollum,
out.
man. The Gollum quest.
Yeah, that was. I mean,
Yeah.
some of these. To be fair, like we did one of these this morning. Actually, we did a kind of game of the year discussion, and some years these are real drag out fights, and people get mad, and like there are hard feelings for years over some of those, and I think we're getting a little of that with DA Inquisition. Which did you finish DA Inquisition?
I did. I regret it.
Yeah.
Once you invest like 50 hours in something, you're like, well, now I got to finish it, and so
You don't have to.
I know.
I feel like he
shouldn't
does. Sometimes
have.
I feel like I have to. I think you have to. All right.
I like that game.
We're going to go on. So this one is about, we had two questions. The crazy thing is we had two questions on this. And one of them I had to go back to last week because we didn't do a kind of like build a list thing last week. And I wanted to do one again this week. And the subject for this one is, you're not going to believe this, everybody, consumables, right? So, hey, Andy and the cool peeps. After all your recent scenarios, I've got one more for you. You are now the owner of your family-run grocery store. Through a wormhole of some kind, you are able to get a hold of 5 video game consumables to have for sale in your store. What 5 consumable items would you choose to have in your store? Let's say that in this scenario, you have access to all the appliances to also sell full meals, such as in Monster Hunter or in Final Fantasy 15. To pitch in my choice, I'd like to go with Dark Souls Estus flasks. You just got to know when you get Sunny. Oh, you got to know what the good old Sunny D tastes like, which I think is funny. And I also think we should throw in a little bit too of like, not only should we have consumables, but we should say what we think they taste like.
Okay. So each of us gets one then. There's
Well,
5 of us.
That would be the easy way to do it, but I like that we argue and try to come together with a list. It's like trying to come together with a top 5 that we think should be there, not just 5 choices, but what we as a group think are the best options. So hold on, I want to read because we also got, that was from Jonathan from Quebec, Canada. Thank you, Jonathan. We also got another one that was like that wanted to know. The same thing, essentially. Like, hey, could you do the same thing? So I just want to make sure that like, if you could open up a cafe, what are your top 5 specials? This is what they said. You can choose consumables that appear in video games. And that was from Nick DeFeo from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So from across the United States, we got the same consumable question. So I thought it was worth mentioning them both. So 5 consumables.
I like this image of our street has like a grocery store, a museum, a hardware store. I like building out the GI street.
And someone can build it for us in Legos and we can have a
City.
photo.
There you go, GI City. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, does anybody anybody like to speak up first? Because I have something in mind that I'd like to put out there.
Shoot. Do it.
And I don't know that it has a name, but I feel like our store should just have Final Fight food. Like pick one of those weird Final Fight things that's like
It's like the turkey on the street.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, like the turkey, the ham. I
Street
can't go
turkey, yeah.
like this. Let's just call it just a general street meat that Capcom did for so long. We should just have Capcom street meat as one of the consumables in our store.
I like. There's that one box who looks like Big Boss Man from WWF, I think at the time, and he spits out his gum, and you can eat it and restore a little bit of health.
wait.
Final Fight, yeah.
You take
Really?
a guy's gum?
The guy spits it out, then you can eat his gum.
Oh, that's amazing.
But I like that
But
was.
do you package it? You put it in like a plastic bag? Do you
No,
just
it's
have a
just-
guy in the back chewing gum and putting it in
you
bags?
just be like
at our
little
store, yeah.
pre-chewed
And you
lumps
gotta
of
punch
gum.
him, and it's like a vending machine.
It's got to be expensive because we got to pay
yeah,
that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it also shows that like if your health is low, you're like, I'll eat anything to
Literally
get that health
anything.
back. Yeah,
I'll just lick the floor for even less.
Well, yeah, I think that's a hard thing to have already chewed gum, ABC gum in our store.
Yeah.
But I
like the
hear ya.
curry. I like the plate of curry from Final Fight.
Okay, this is all just giving us health, though. We need something different.
What?
Like what?
Well, we're not talking about it. Oh, I mean, well, we could talk about the effects. The effects could come to.
Haste from Final Fantasy X. That was it a spell or a potion?
I think that was a spell.
But to
think it was a spell.
speed up your movements,
Sure.
let you do more in a day.
It's not really consumable though, unless it's a
We could
potion.
bottle it.
we could bottle it. So haste. I also.
That's like bottling a kill streak, though. Like, I guess you could in like this hypothetical.
This
kind of
AC
rage
130
juice.
tastes
Yeah,
great.
rage juice.
Hey, that sounds good.
I got one.
You got one. Let's hear it.
A rare candy from Pokemon.
Oh.
And I like the idea of we as people eating one
Yeah.
because I don't know what that effect would be. Just
I
1 year
wouldn't
older,
know.
you know, are we a little sadder? A
Well,
little
if you eat
happier?
enough, you
What
evolve.
what do you think the rare candy does to humans?
That's my question.
No,
Does it
that's
make
what
us, like,
that's the question. Yes, I'm asking you. I want to know
do I
your
lose? You know what?
hypothetical.
Since we're evolving, I would say I'd lose like 50 pounds, 75 pounds. That'd be good.
What?
And get like taller. So you think it's going to evolve? That this candy
Like,
would
if it's
evolve
evolving,
humans?
yeah. Like, you know, I'd lose some weight. It'd be good. I'd like instantly read books. I'd be smarter.
Oh, so it makes us.
You'd
It's
have a
like it's
bigger
like a,
brain.
it's like
Yeah.
turns us super.
Kind of, or like we just get deformed. Like those are the two options in my mind.
So you don't know. It's
Yeah.
it's like a Willy Wonka type thing. You take it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you don't know what it's going to do to you.
Yeah.
So
what
what
if
do you,
it stops working at some point, right? If you're too old, right? Because like eventually you can't feed like a Charizard rare candy and it won't do anything.
Yeah, you get to a certain point and it's done.
So you can, it's like a candy that only kids could eat because then they would evolve.
So what do you think it tastes like? I actually like the
Okay.
idea of it tasting like asphalt.
Asshole.
That it's not a good candy. That that you're like I want to evolve, so I'm willing to eat this candy that looks
Oh, so
delicious,
it's like,
but
yeah.
it tastes horrible.
Okay.
Kind of like adulthood.
Banana
Yeah,
runs.
it tastes like adulthood.
Runs.
Haste would be if you put a hot tamale, the candy, a little spice to it, and then a Sour Patch Kid in your mouth at the same time. So it's sweet, tender, but also has a little bit
Like
of a
you.
kick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, all right, gotcha. All right, Sour Patch
And hot
plus
tamale.
hot tamale. I feel like those are in the same family already.
No, man. Very different tastes. Trust me.
But
But you should do that if you haven't put both those in your mouth at
I will
once.
point out. I don't know if you know this. Those are two of my favorite movie theater candies, right there. Those two I really like.
Don't often see hot tamales anymore. Sour Patch Kids have kind of cornered the market.
Yeah, I also hot tamales is my go-to on car trips. Like when I'm really running low and I'm like, you're like, I've driven for 7 hours, but I need to go 3 more hours. I stop at a truck stop. I get trucker juice, like a big coffee, like they even have those like double caffeinated ones. Hot tamales.
Yeah.
I'll get you where you're
You know how
going.
to do it.
Listen,
That's what I do
coffee.
too.
That'll get you.
It seems like a bad combo in my mind. Like they wouldn't mix well together.
Oh, it works.
Yeah.
I mean,
good.
I'm just looking to like twitch my whole way, and it works. It works very well.
Your stomach tie itself in a knot.
That part is
Yeah,
true.
you're just in pain. That's why
But you
you're
move
awake.
past that. If you're in a car trip, you're trying to get somewhere
Yeah.
you shouldn't be going. You like
Somewhere
your
you
stomach is the
shouldn't
last
be
thing.
going.
Yeah.
That also works. Like haste, like the aftermath of haste is not going to be great.
Yeah, you should just
You're
have
going to
some
come down
haste.
like you wouldn't believe.
Well, I mean, if GI Town existed, I
Yeah.
could stop at it on the road on 35W and pick some up. I would.
Sounds like a street drug, actually. Hey, you got some haste? You guys tried the haste?
It does.
I'm telling you, hot tamale and Sour Patch
right,
Kid in your
so-
mouth at the same time.
So this part we have Capcom Street Meat, which I also think will include the curry in the Capcom Street Meat. Should we just like generalize? We can just like it can be like
It's like a garbage can loot box.
yeah, okay, and
Punch
and
it, you don't know what you're gonna get.
we didn't add a taste. What does it taste? I think all of them, every single one of them should taste like bologna, which is like it doesn't really. You're like describe bologna's taste. You can't really describe it.
It's just baloney.
It's just bologna, right? I feel like that's a good choice for that
was
because
gonna
it's a
say-
variety of street meats,
Yeah.
and you just really know.
I was going to say one of those hot dogs that's been on the spinner rack at a gas station for like
That's
10
almost
hours.
essentially
Yeah.
bologna as
It's
well.
the
They're
same
very
thing.
similar.
Yeah.
We'd use those two descriptors for that.
Yeah.
I think that works.
okay.
So we have the rare candy.
Haste.
And we have haste from Final Fantasy, which we're bottling, I think, more than anything, probably. It's a bottle, right? That tastes like things. We got street meat. Do we have anything? We need more consumables.
Well, I'm
Does anybody
surprised
else-
nobody's mentioned
Well,
the
he said curry,
mushroom
right?
yet.
Or no, the gum. We got the guy in the back making the gum.
The gum is from the same
the
Capcom,
same-
the same
yeah.
Cap. We're putting those all together.
Okay, well, I like the guy in the back making the gum.
Does
Why didn't we say the mushroom, though, from Mario? Like, that's like the most iconic.
There you go.
consumable of all
one?
time.
Green or red?
I mean, the
a
red one
one-up?
is the most iconic, right?
Yeah, but you'd instantly be naked.
Yeah,
You
so the
tear
red
through
one.
all your
You
clothes and
just
everything.
immediately just burst out of everything.
Well,
And your house.
Mario's
Like, you
clothes
probably-
grow with him.
That's true. They do.
Yeah, but I mean, in reality,
In reality, if you grow to
need,
be
like,
twice your size,
stretchy-
you're saying.
yeah.
I mean, we're not talking about reality here. I think the mushroom's
this
a great
is very
choice.
real.
I think red is the right choice. I agree with you. One up doesn't do us any good.
Yeah. What
What
would
if that adds
mean?
a year to your life, though?
Well, if you die, you would come back. Like that's what I would want it to do.
Well, it would just put off death.
Now, here's the funny thing: does red mushroom does it taste like a mushroom, or does it taste like something else? I feel like it has to taste like something else. It looks like a mushroom,
It has
but
to
it
taste like
taste-
something that's really exciting and good.
because you're about to grow.
That's why you grow.
Yeah.
Does it taste like plant food? It's not exciting or good, but
How about Twizzlers? What if it tasted like Twizzlers?
Red vines, I'm with
Red,
you.
red vines.
we got too much candy.
but it has
too much
like
candy, or-
It has like the consistency of a mushroom, but it tastes like a red vine.
Or I'm kind of with Ryan here. Maybe make
Yeah.
it taste like something like different.
Meaty.
No, just like we're trying to throw things off. Let's think of something
What's a rare cheese that's really distinct? You know, like the ones that squeak in your mouth.
Gruyere.
like
A rare cheese curd?
like a brie.
Ah, yes. A fried
No, you know what I
cheese
mean? Like
curd,
an
yes.
expensive cheese. Like what's a
a
really,
really nice fried
Really-
cheese curd.
Yeah. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Just a fried cheese curd.
Yeah.
State Fair cheese curd.
I mean, hey,
You know what? Let's
I would eat it.
The Minnesota State Fair is pretty great. Let's call out the cheese curd. Cheese
Salty.
curd,
Yeah.
red mushroom.
Love
That's a
that.
good choice. And you can, if you don't want to get haste, if you don't want to like evolve, you can become a giant version of yourself by picking up the red mushroom at our wonderful. This is turning out to be a really great grocery store.
We
Who
got five
knew?
things.
I'm
Who
6'5", man.
knew?
I can't do another. I can't eat a mushroom like that. I have enough problems at that height.
All right, so we need one more consumable.
I always wanted to know what the like Pac-Man power pellets tasted like.
Oh,
It's like a
yeah.
cookie, right?
Is that what they were supposed to be?
Yeah.
But he was supposed to be a pizza.
Well,
Pac-Man
Yeah.
himself.
Shaped like a pizza.
shaped like a pizza. Sorry, Alex, were you going to say something else?
I was just gonna ask, do plasmids from like Bioshock count?
It is a consumable. It doesn't mean we have to eat it.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a
a
good point.
consumable.
Injectable, right?
Yeah, it's
I mean,
like a,
It's a
You
drug.
consume
shot,
it.
right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that would be like something you consume it,
Right. I like that.
Right?
And you get lightning or something,
Yeah.
Lightning hands?
Send out bugs.
so it tastes like you're getting zapped by a 9-volt battery.
Yeah.
No. No one else seems excited
Yeah,
about it.
I mean, it's stuff.
I like
I
the
think of
idea.
so many consumables that are just like food. Like in WoW, there's like these feasts and things like that are cool looking and are kind of funny that they have different like kind of feasts and things like that. But I do like the idea of picking one that has some kind of power that goes along with it. I like our store is boring if it's just like it tastes like, oh, here's a fish feast. It's got like lobster in it. Like, well, yippee. I mean, I want it to do something. I want it to change something. Like, so I think we want to find.
You got to pick
our-
one plasmid and assign a taste to it. Because that's like a whole different section of food, right? Like they all would have different.
But which plasmid is
Flavors.
it? What power do you want?
That's a good question.
The lighting one's good.
Lightning.
Lightning?
one's
Just
good.
so lightning, just like lightning.
So what does that
I mean, there's
taste
the
like?
telekinesis one too. That would
Telekinesis would also be really good.
Be, yeah.
We only really technically have room for one more thing in our store.
Yeah, what does lightning taste like?
Well, like getting hit by a 9-volt battery. Like if you touch the 9-volt to your
You get that
lips,
kind of
ever
like
done that?
weird, like
It's like tingly.
So
yeah.
acid.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think
Yeah,
you get
he's
acid in
dying
your
when you
mouth.
Well, it's an
Yeah.
acidic thing, right?
Tastes like dropping acid a little bit. Yeah.
I don't really want to touch that. But so we say lightning. Lightning is the power one. So
Is
we
that the best
basically. I mean,
Yeah, we
I
can
think
go
it's
with
not
it.
bad. I mean, it's like
Because there's fire. And there's,
Emperor Palpatine kind of thing.
You could do
right?
the bees and
Seems
have it
fun.
be taste like honey, but that's too easy.
Bees.
Yeah, but I mean, like, yeah, I like that. I like that this taste. I mean, I think that's not bad. That's not bad. I like that. Do you like the power pellets better from Pac-Man?
Nah, because Jeff said it's supposed to be a cookie, and now I can't think of anything.
Yeah, and it just kind of turns you big, and you can eat things.
You're
And
like
that's
a
kind of
Nutella
the same
wafer.
thing.
You're like, meh.
Yeah.
Well, it makes you. It doesn't make you bigger, but it makes you. It doesn't make it faster either, does it? I think you're just
It's
saying.
just an obligation.
What's
You just
weird is
have
like
to
it
eat
doesn't
them
do anything
all.
to you. It does something to everybody else.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's what's weird about it.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
can, eat, you can eat other people, and then what do they taste like?
All right. Well,
That's interesting.
if we have this list here, which would be Capcom street meats that taste like bologna and they give you health, which that's probably the most boring thing, but I just love it for the visual.
Yeah.
I think
That
for the
gets
visual,
people in the door that it's a normal place.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
And then
so
you got the Mogwai behind the
yeah,
curtain.
we got curry and we've got chewed gum. It all fits in the Capcom street meats.
Gum that tastes like bologna.
And it also could have like a bologna kind of spam, kind of like, what did you say, leftover hot dog kind of a consistency. We have these haste flasks from Final Fantasy that taste like hot tamales and a Sour Patch Kids combined together.
Bestseller, right?
I think you stopped us from getting candy, so yours would be the best tasting one,
Hey,
which I think is a little unfair.
What I did was unique. I blended them.
Which is weird because it's a beverage, and you're describing two gummy.
Yeah, isn't
type
that
things.
crazy?
Yeah.
Which means
Rather
it's like
than,
a
like,
disgusting beverage.
He could have just done like cinnamon schnapps and pucker schnapps,
No,
right?
this is very distinct.
Okay.
All right.
Trust.
And then we have the red candy that tastes like asphalt.
The rare candy?
Rare candy.
Rare candy. Sorry,
Yeah, rare candy.
I had it as red. I'm really dumb. And then I have red mushrooms is what I had as well, which they taste like. What do they taste like again?
They taste like cheese
Oh,
curds.
cheese curds.
Cheese
Fried
curds. That's
cheese
right.
curds.
Cheese
Right.
curds.
Yeah.
Cheese
Oh, that'll be our
curds.
bestseller.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
probably,
yeah.
that's probably the best seller.
That is probably the best seller. And then finally, we had the ability to get on the lightning power from BioShock, and we said it tasted like a battery.
That's right.
Is that kind of pop rocky or just acidy?
It's like the aftertaste of a pop rock kind of.
So is that our final list? Do we feel like we're missing anything here? This is actually kind of hard.
Is there any like big iconic consumable that we're totally missing?
Yes, there 100% sure is.
Well, yeah.
We just can't think of what it is.
Yep.
Someone is screaming at.
We should just not do this podcast though if we're not gonna.
Yeah, well, I mean, I mean, we yes, I mean, we're officially going to be wrong on every single podcast. That's the joy of podcasting. You know, like I think that's. I think I would say one thing I would think of. I would like the ability to, like Samus, turn into like a ladybug shell and drop bombs.
A ladybug.
Do you know, like when you get a little ball up
yeah.
and kind of
Yeah.
like.
I've never heard
drop
it
it
described
around?
as a ladybug.
Yeah, an
before.
armadillo, man.
Yeah.
Armadillo. Okay, armadillo, sure.
Yeah.
So you're calling those consumables?
I guess not ladybug's the right thing. What's the little
little pill bug
little
thing.
pill
Yeah,
bug
pill
things?
bug.
Yeah, you know what I mean. That would like roll up. That's what I'm
Gross.
trying to think
Yeah.
of.
Yeah, don't like that.
So it's like I don't know, maybe that, but I don't know what is that. That's more a power up than it is a like
Yeah,
consumable.
what about
It's a weapon.
Res
It's a bomb.
Evil, the green plant? Do they eat that or just
Ooh.
rub that on their body?
Well, either way, you're consuming it by using it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, but
I
why
think,
does that
I
instantly?
think the idea is they grind it up
they
and
grind-
eat it.
yeah.
I think.
Or snort it?
seems like
'Cause
you
it's a
put things
powder?
together.
Yeah, it's like a powder.
I mean, you could put it in your drink. Powder.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to
Yeah.
snort it.
That
It's
probably
like
just,
Kool-Aid.
Yeah,
that probably just tastes like grass, right?
it probably does taste like grass. I mean, I actually think we've got a surprisingly good list here, given that we had no idea what we were doing.
No.
And we added flavors that we didn't need to add, but we decided that would make it more exciting. Which item would you pick out of your store? At this store, you have these 5 items.
Boy, I mean, Reeves is right. You got to go with the cheese curds.
Yeah, I think I eat red mushrooms all day.
You eat red mushrooms all day?
Yeah.
Red mushrooms? Is that our number one seller?
Yeah, but people out there should put a hot tamale and a Sour Patch Kid in their mouth at the same time and let us know what they think.
I feel like you could make a killing with a street cart that sold Capcom street meats. Like if you just went, that's the catch.
E3.
Yeah, like
Set
you
that
just like on the
sucker up.
you kind of do that at E3 already. I think that one could be. I think it could be a big seller.
Don't lead with it all tastes like bologna though. 'cause
Yeah, well, you don't tell it. You
Yeah.
look at it. You go, it looks delicious.
Yeah.
And then later you find out.
No refunds.
Yeah,
You
no.
can only eat this if you're 100 yards away.
Yeah,
flavor-
Yeah, and we don't take reviews on our Yelp page.
Yeah.
The flavor just drips out of your mouth.
Yeah.
That's
I
their
mean,
slogan.
the novelty's good. Novelty's good.
That's a good
So,
one.
Yeah,
That's a good
all right.
question.
But I mean, this other one, you could take one where you evolve, but it's kind of scary that you could also like just be deformed from it.
It'd be like Jeff Goldblum in The Fly, right? Like,
Yeah, exactly. Like you think you're
man.
getting something great and you're not.
Or what if you just evolve into an old man?
But you're smarter, wiser, right?
Yeah,
That's what they always say.
That's very true. All right. Well, that is it for questions.
Ended with
You guys all
we
look
survived.
so relieved. So is that horrible? Is it that horrible to be in here for
No.
like an hour?
We're just super busy. For people out there, we're trying to do our Game of the Year awards, and there's
We got tons of work.
lots
Yeah,
going on
again,
here.
at the holidays. It's certainly crazy,
Yeah.
and
We
I,
love doing the show. It's just
I
it's crazy town.
appreciate you all taking the time to come be on the show with me and Alex. Please send your feedback and questions. Questions, please. We like the questions. We like the scenarios. To podcast@GameInformer.com. Coming up next is our final segment, which will be our part 5 of our Game of the Year talks, and then you're free to go, free to live your lives. At that point, yeah. All right, great. Thanks. See you next segment. Hello, and welcome to the Game Informer Show. I'm your host, Andy McNamara. This is the 4th and final segment for this week's show. We are going to do part 5 of these Game of the Year chats, diatribes that we've done now for over a month. This week, I am joined by Alex Stadnick.
They let me out of the box. It's a good day.
Yeah, it's kind of a quick change, which, by the way, I'd like to point out, too. We were almost going to go Leo-less, which I was worried about because I've gotten a lot of feedback of people. They're like, I like that you're getting Leo out there. Leo's more involved, and we want to keep doing that. I was not hiding him from you this week. It was that Leo just got back from a trip, had a lot to do. Alex was nice enough to fill in, and it's always wonderful, of course, to have you on the show as well.
Thank you.
So, but now we have you out here, and we have Leo in the box. How you doing, Leo? Hi.
Good. What a win-win this is.
It is. It's double win. And so, and then also we have Nick Straub.
Yes.
All right, make sure I
Got
say
it
this
right.
thing. I always try to get names right, and I
I feel like I
screw 'em up.
struggle with it, and we've worked in the same room for the last 3 months. Yeah.
All my teachers struggled with it.
Yeah.
Even after they knew me for 8 years growing up.
And so,
good job.
welcome to the Game of the Year talks. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about games, but also I want to talk to you guys about interns, which we'll get to as we make our way around. And Joe Juba has joined me again for this final segment.
It's pronounced Joba, actually, but it's been a long time, and I've
You know,
never corrected
There's
you.
going to be people that are going to think that's what it is. Which I am going to go on a weird story here. That for a while I would go, oh, I hired this guy, Joe Juba, and they would be like, you mean like Juba Super Value? And I was like, oddly enough, yes, it is. Which is, that is not a widely done. But in Minnesota, there were Juba Super Values, and that was the reference. So I know you're tricking me there. I know I'm getting this one right.
Yeah. There's still one left.
Is there one?
Yep, down in Blue Earth, Minnesota.
Blue Earth, which is also home to Matt Helgeson back in the day. So there's a lot of connection.
Yeah, that was a weird connection. Like
Small world.
Matt Helgeson knew my cousins down in Blue Earth from because my family was there running that store, and then Reiner worked at my uncle's grocery store here in Shakopee. Like he worked for my uncle.
It's so weird.
There's
It's so
some
crazy.
weird connections when I applied here for sure.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things. It's like I know it's a total cliche to go, it's a small world, like what do you know? But it happens all the time.
Yeah,
it's
eerie.
weird.
Yeah.
And so that's definitely one of them. All right, so let's actually before we get into the Game of the Year talk. So this was number one. We did have some challenges at Game Informer, like right before you guys started as an intern group. We had, and we wanted to let the intern group know before you came. We were like, hey, just so you know, we're a little bit short-staffed, and we're not going to be able to give you as much support as we'd like, because it's really important, just so people know, for the intern team. We really especially Ben Reeves and Jeff Cork, who I'd like to make sure I give a special shout out to here.
Definitely.
And Matt Miller, who worked a lot on the program over the years, all important figures in our intern program. We were like, we honestly just don't know how much support we can give you, which was a concern. And because we do an unpaid intern program, which some people get mad at us for, and I'm always apologetic. I wish I would pay you if I could. But we've always paid for, what I've always said we pay for with, is knowledge. That we can hopefully teach you something while you're here, and you may go, you taught me nothing, which you can answer that later. But, that's the one thing that we hopefully offer is an opportunity to learn. And I think we've been very lucky, and I'm always super proud when I go out there and see people from our intern program who've gone out there and done great things in the game industry. And I'm just thrilled, and I hope nothing but the best for yourselves. The weird thing was that one person backed out. They were like, no, We had 3. And it's like, all right, these 2 are coming.
Which I understand, by the way.
Well, totally understand.
A lot of us just did not know what the future looked like at that point.
And it's a commitment of your time, right? Like, and that's like, you should believe in what you're doing, and that's why we wanted to be square about it, and like totally got it. So, but so for till we know better, right? This is the last intern program, which is kind of sad. We may bring it back at some point, but at this point we don't know. If we are or we're not, we'll see which direction Game Informer goes. But it was definitely a little bit sad in that regard. So, but halfway through, Hanson moved on to do something else, and we hired Alex, which was totally crazy.
Yeah.
And we were so happy and lucky to have you here in the office and able to, have the skill set to do that.
Thank you.
And then I had to go to Nick and go, so Nick, this is getting a little weirder.
I was telling him as soon as Hanson left that I think they're probably going to hire you.
Yeah, I hated that because I just didn't want to get to that level of hopes-wise. But yeah, here we are.
Yeah,
So-
here we are, which is a good thing. And by the way, when you were working here as an intern, thank you, and thank you, Nick. By the way, we appreciate everything you guys do to come in here and help us. And like I said before, hopefully you learned something. Did you learn something? You wrote some stories, right? Tell me something about the experience.
If you want to start, you can.
So for me, it's been extremely helpful because I've wanted to get into this industry for a long time. But in college, I studied philosophy. So I came from a very academic sort of writing.
So perfect for Game Informer.
We're very high class.
And but it was very academic kind of writing. And gaming journalism is a lot more conversational. And I have to give this shout out to Jeff and Ben, especially Ben, for being very helpful in not just like learning how to craft pitches, but in having a more conversational tone with my writing.
Yeah.
And I was really proud of a piece I did a few weeks back on Red Dead Redemption, where I was able to, through some of their help, channel some of the ideas I wanted to express, but in a conversational way that was appropriate to Game Informer. And so going forward, I feel a lot more confident in being able to approach things from a more conversational standpoint and a standpoint that would be approachable to other gaming outlets.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of my jokes that I tell people, and I've told this to like children. This is the kind of scary thing.
This
is
will be a
that
good
like
one.
this is a good one? Is that I'm like people sometimes always screw this up when they're going out and looking for a job. It's like talk to someone like that makes it so you would fit there like almost immediately. Like you wouldn't go to McDonald's. This is my bad thing. That you go like, I really love the Whopper, right? You know what I mean? Like you have no idea what you're going to or who you're going to go talk to, right? And I think this kind of proves that point a little bit here. Is that like you had writing down that was very academic. And like maybe there's an outlet out there that really wants academic looks at games, but a lot of it wants to be a bit of entertainment, and understanding how to create it casual, like kind of interaction and do those kind of things is important. And that's a step in learning how to write and engaging, and I think too, and going out and finding a job someday too. I think it's an important skill.
Yeah. Well, and it's also important to note too, I think you can sharpen multiple blades at once when it comes to your writing.
Oh, yeah, of
right?
course, definitely.
There are avenues for more academic writing and in-depth analysis. The way you write a review and express yourself there is different from an opinion piece and that kind of stuff. So I think, if you're sort of if you tend to go into one column in terms of your writing, I think it's good that you sort of had a chance to experiment, spread out in some other areas.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I would say for me, it was filtering out the good and the bad ideas. Because I think when you write for a smaller site like I had before we got here, I would just throw something out there. They'd say, great, put it out there and go. Whereas here, it's like, okay, you need to put an extra layer of thought into it. You need to back up what you're talking about even more so. And I found that it changed my thinking on when I was coming up with a story, mixing that entertainment and conversational thing with something that I wanted to say. And like I said, I think it's changed my thinking on when I'm thinking about potential stories and things that we could do. And that's invaluable, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things that's nice about. I think any great writer would say, I met a good editor somewhere along the way, right? Like that's someone who really challenges you on how you structure things,
Yeah.
and how you look at things and how you answer things, because you definitely build up your own habits.
Yeah.
and it's good to learn to listen, which is like another like kind of like whatever Mount Andy knowledge here a little bit. Not that people don't already know it, but it's like that is something. It's funny, you will encounter people that when you try to edit stuff for them, they will be very like confrontational about it and feel like you're trying to ruin their work and go this way. And it's like, well, I mean, you can be unfeathered and do whatever you want and be George Lucas at the end of his career, or you can listen to somebody, right, and
End of his
make
career?
greatness. Like I'm just saying, like it helps to have other people give you feedback and be accepting of that feedback is really important in the creative process.
Definitely.
And you start to crave it, actually. Like when I submit, features or anything for editing, you always kind of dread that response that's just looks good.
I hate that so much. Yeah, I hate it. Yeah.
Like I like it when someone comes to me and is like, "Hey, I read this thing of yours. 3 things I want to talk about," and then you like go down the bullet points, and you come away feeling like your writing has improved, or the piece that you're working on has improved.
Yeah. And that someone took the time to actually go through it and,
Yeah.
and coach
Yeah,
you through
exactly.
it. Yeah. This is a little bit more unique to my situation, but I also appreciated, well, and they told both of us this, but Jeff and Ben both said at the beginning of this is a different time for this internship program. Experiment, try different things, and without it, because I think maybe in years past, they wouldn't have been so accepting of people like doing videos if it's an editorial thing. So it's like the fact that you guys were so like, yeah, go for it. Like that, I mean, made a world of difference for me, obviously.
Gave you an opportunity.
Most definitely.
Awesome.
And you also got help too from Hanson and Leo have done. They're the guys that can give you feedback and help
Definitely.
understand like our ragtag studio and how it works
Yeah, most definitely.
and our technology. So that was great that you got that opportunity. So what was your Red Dead piece your favorite piece that you did while you were here? Do you have anything else that was like a big hit for you?
Well, that was my favorite piece that I've done. There is one other big one that's in the works that I'm doing with Alex. I don't know if I should say anything more on that.
Keep it a secret.
But,
Secrets. WatchGameInformer.com.
Yeah.
I mean, that'll be this week, right?
Yes, it will be coming out this week.
All right.
All right. Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
So, what do you want to do when you're done here? What do you want to do? Do you want to be a game writer? Do you like this was
yes.
fun?
No,
like,
no,
I'm done.
I'm definitely not done. I want to definitely go pursue this more. I've been looking at different freelance opportunities.
Excellent.
That I'll be applying for, and I think I want to experiment more with video stuff.
Gotcha.
And like one of the things I've done here are some projects that weren't able to be completed, but Alex and I did some things on like script writing. I've gotten a little bit more of a hand on that, and I've seen how that can be used to, in a more approachable way, present some of the deeper ideas that I've been going after. And hopefully the thing at the end of the week will show some of that.
That's awesome. I mean, I think that's one of the hard things about being a game journalist now. And Joe and I have made this joke before that if it was today, we would never have been hired.
Oh no.
Like
the fact that you guys knew my relatives would not have gotten me. Would not have been the in I needed.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's the skill set you need to be a modern journalist is pretty high. I mean, like even when I started, I would have been like, oh well, I got to make sure I can do a good podcast, which we still have, those kind of things. Like, am I good on camera? Am I like all those other parts that now play into a modern journalist, not just in games but all over. And so I think that's great that you're pursuing that, and like I think that's always helpful to anyone out there looking for writers. So that's really fun. So you guys want to talk Game of the Year?
Let's do it.
Only with all my heart.
Want to do that? All right. Fantastic. So the way this segment has worked, for anyone that hasn't tried, we've got 4 other pieces that we've done on this. So it's basically I bring in editors, friends, interns, things like that, and we talk about games. What games matter to you, right, in this year? So we're looking back. It can be a game that we've already talked about, which the list has been growing. I'm sure, and I've been trying to keep track of it, and it's been fun. All the games we've gone through, so you can revisit something if we've already done it, which is fine. If you've got something new, that's great. pulling out like weird, like kind of odd choices is always good. I think that's good for us to explore and kind of learn about those. So, Nick, since you are our intern special guest and hero of the hour, we start with you. We start with you.
Okay. I doubt this has been brought up in game of the year discussions.
Okay,
I know you've
yeah.
talked about it throughout other pieces of the podcast, but my personal favorite game of the year was Death Stranding.
You started playing it like right early on. Like we had it. Yes.
Yeah. One of the pieces I got to do was a dictionary.
Which was very helpful.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad to know I helped somebody. And so, yeah, I began playing it with that in mind. And I think that it helped me appreciate the game more because from the beginning, I started reading everything, all the emails and all that to, collect this database. And really diving into that part of the game made me fall in love with it. And that I carried me through the entire game. I read everything. And to me, that really deepened my appreciation of it.
So as you were going along, you're like putting together all the little pieces of lore, sort of building that train track in front of yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And this is what I really liked about Death Stranding a lot, is much like Kojima's other projects, it is extremely blunt. There isn't much subtlety there. But
you mean Porter Bridges?
Exactly. And Die Hard Man and all that.
Yeah.
All that great stuff. But what I thought was really cool is so that he has these very blunt ideas on like the importance of human companionship and connecting and all that. But then within especially a lot of the written content and then some of the things near the end of the game, it kind of deepens it and gives it a grounding, like a philosophical grounding that I thought made it way more powerful. Like one of my favorite emails I came across is that there's this email from one of the characters talking about evolution. And he's describing how that we find fish with legs, like on beaches where this threshold between the water and the land. And he posits, he's like, what if they were selected to survive not because they were able to walk on land, but when the tide went back, they were able to return to the ocean. And that it was that trauma of needing to go back that pushed evolution forward. And that carries over into the game's story and themes where it's not just like, oh, let's come together and be connected to one another and be neighborly, but that there's this connection to life in general, and that suffering and even failures of humanity can still leave behind a stepping stool for other life to evolve. And you like immediately experience that as you play the game through the building on other people's structures, and that it's these remnants of others who came before you that you build upon. And it really just connected with me in that way.
I feel like someone should have built an exit so you could get out as quickly as possible.
See, it's fun. I was actually going to bring up Death Stranding on this round also.
That's good. You guys can both comment on like what I mean. I think it deserves to be talked about. It's definitely it's a defining game of 2019. There's no doubt.
I think there's no way around that. Like for all of the elements about it, the sort of divisive. Some people love it, some people hate it. Like there is so much there to talk about, and like I finished it over the weekend, and I can't remember the last time that I finished a game and felt so conflicted about it. Just in terms of there are parts of the gameplay that I love and parts of the story that just did not hit with me, and lots of mechanics that I wish would change, but at the same time, the fact that they are the way they are is part of what makes the game special. And one thing that struck me, it reminds me a little bit of Red Dead Redemption 2 not in terms of necessarily the height of quality, but in terms of, let's say, for those first like 10 or 15 hours that I was playing it, I was like, man, I don't know that I like this. There's a lot about these mechanics that feel archaic, a lot here that feels clunky. And then when you hit the 30-hour mark, suddenly you realize that first chunk, even though it was a bit of a slog sometimes, was like building a foundation for greater things.
Yeah.
And I felt that way about Red Dead, and I feel that way about Death Stranding also. Though I didn't end up ultimately liking Death Stranding as much.
Yeah. But the toil is needed to have liberation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it pays off in like some interesting and surprising and pretty amazing ways.
Also, that's a crazy amount of patience that you had for 30 hours, and then you're like, oh yeah, this is good now. Like that's a deep dive.
Yeah, I mean, I guess at some point I just sort of decided that I was going to play it.
Yeah.
And I did.
I think my favorite story about Nick is that in the guise of Death Stranding, the first day I think I was helping with the podcast for some, I come in and he's played maybe 5 hours of it,
Something like that. Yeah.
and I come in, I was like, oh, what do you think? Like, how's it going? He's like, this is not good.
It was like that. Yeah.
Like, this is just not good. And then the assignment came through to do the dictionary, and he's like, all right, okay, cool. And like, I would pass him by in Studio B, and it would just be this illuminated face, and he was so into it. And he came back, he's like, I think this is my favorite game of the year.
That is exactly what happened.
Yeah, it's a crazy change. So,
Yeah. It is interesting. It's a game that just does not, in its early hours, shows you what it does poorly, but does not show you what it does well until later.
The thing that is funny about that for me is I had the same kind of response that you did, Joe, but I had it way earlier, in part because I restarted it. So when
What?
Yeah, no. So I was like,
You
maybe
played that intro multiple times?
Yeah, I did. I played it through twice. And here's the thing:
How many hours was that?
Like 3 to 4 or something. It was around with
Okay.
because I restarted because I at the beginning there was this big lore dump of terms. So I was like, okay, I just want to start over and get these terms. And going into the restart, I was like, okay, I don't think this is going to be fun. This is going to be painful. I wasn't really into the game at this point.
Yeah.
The names, I was like, this is just so campy. Freaking Die Hard Man, Dead Man, and then the fact that the president's name was Bridget. I was like, oh, come on, can you stop with the Bridget references, the bridge references?
I didn't know that.
And then,
Yeah.
but then I restarted it, and it immediately grabbed me because I noticed things in the beginning, like cinematic, that I hadn't noticed before. And I started to appreciate that alongside all like the blunted kind of like campy imagery, there's also a lot of subtle imagery that I hadn't appreciated before. And that's the thing about the game that I was alluding to kind of with the emails and everything, is that for how blunt it is, it also has this beautiful, like, subtle, like, foundation that to me holds it up. And I immediately started to grasp that when I restarted it.
I think Miller and I have talked about this some, which is that, like, I love it when you guys talk about the game like this. But also at the same time, too, I sit around and I go, like, am I missing it? Do you know what I mean? Like, do I just not get it? Because, like, at the beginning to me, all I can think of, and maybe this is a minor spoiler, was just like, hey, you want to go talk to the president? You mean my mom? And I'm just like, what? I can't.
It's like he has to be reminded. It's like, the president wants to see you. Need I remind you? She's your mother.
Yeah,
it's like, I know. I get it.
Does this mean her name is Bridget Bridges? Or Bridger?
No. Her last name is Strand, which is another, connection thing.
Okay.
But I mean, I just like I heard that and I throw the controller in the air. My eyes went as far back in my head as they could go. Like, and then that scene comes out that's like in one of the trailers where he says, "You're the president of," and it's very difficult for me to take it seriously. And at the same time too, I listen to people talk about it, and it's like a breath of fresh air, and everything comes in the layers of like meaning, and I'm like, I can't get past some of the like top stuff, and that's where I feel like I'm missing out. By the way, I'm saying this is bad for me. I feel like I should go back and play it more, but I tried that, and I was like, I don't want to be the Galactic FedEx man anymore.
No. I'll tell you what for me, three things made the biggest difference to my enjoyment of this game. Like, just from a gameplay mechanical standpoint.
Yeah.
There's a character in the second like zone called the Engineer that has, if you like do some deliveries for him, he gives you a power skeleton
Oh yeah, that helps so much.
that basically like triples the amount of like the weight you can carry and drastically reduces the degree to which you have to like readjust your weight
Yeah,
as
you
you're
kinda, like,
walking.
you're
so you don't
tippy
tumble.
turtle
Yeah, you
anymore,
don't
yeah.
tumble over like an idiot all the time. That was important. Then you, when you unlock trucks, so you can actually just like
drive,
just take
yeah.
a bunch of stuff, load it on there. Especially if you've built some roads, you can just take those trucks back and forth, like shuttle deliveries around. That was important. And then when you get zip lines, which is like probably my favorite moment of the whole year.
Oh yeah, the zip lines are like the greatest thing.
Yeah,
They're just amazing.
Because you think zip line and you're like, oh, that means I can go from a high place to a low place.
It goes both
And
ways, yeah.
It goes both ways. So all of a sudden, this mountain that you spent 20 minutes trying to climb before, you can just like, boom, 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 just like shoot your way up it. It is so
And
satisfying.
I want to add to that like goes back to one of the things that really was powerful for me in the game, and I alluded to like how you build upon other people, is that was really true with the zip lines, because in the game you have a limitation on the number of structures that you yourself can put up, but there the other structures that are present from other people don't affect that amount. So you wanted to connect your zip lines to other people's zip lines. And so like you end up like creating this like shared, it's like almost like a mini train of just like shooting across the map.
I mean, that's cool. That's cool.
It's cool.
I agree. That's cool. I mean, I'm with you.
But
Right.
I think I might have said this on the podcast or replay last week. But from the story standpoint, like, you're right, Andy. It's like you're watching one of those medieval morality plays when the characters aren't really characters; they're just like personified concepts. Like, my name is patience.
Yeah.
My name is virtue.
Yeah.
I'm clemency. It's like, yeah, okay, I get it. I
Yeah,
get it. It's
yeah.
like it is that blunt and obvious in terms of like the characters, their roles, their motivations, and like unlike Nick, I did not connect on a story level with this game, but I still kept playing. That
Yeah.
gameplay loop really got me.
I would say I agree with Joe. Like the immediate story pieces of it are not like great. I would agree with that. Like especially I returned to something else afterwards, and the contrast and like the quality of the dialogue. Like I was like, okay, yeah, that it doesn't seem real. But to me, what really alleviated it is it's extremely well acted. All the acting is is amazing, and even though they don't come across as like human per se, the ideas that they present and that are presented in this story are like profoundly humane and compassionate. And then the emails that you get from people tended to me to be a lot more. And just in terms of the immediate writing, were a lot more impressive. And the preppers, like the small characters that you meet throughout the game, some of them, even though you only really interact with them in this very indirect way via emails, became really compelling to me. Like the engineer that Joe brought up, by the end of like if you max out your connection with him, there's a particular email that he sends you about like trying to understand the BTs through painting them that I thought was really lovely. And like it's a very it's not.
And do you reply with like, I beat BTs by like going to the restroom and making grenades?
You don't ever reply.
You know what I mean?
You don't ever reply with that.
Oh,
but no.
okay, all right.
You never reply to the emails, but it is true. Yes, you can make the BTs run away with your urine.
Yes, which is where it's like it's very philosophical. Pee on it; it'll fix it. You know, like
or maybe a poop grenade. Who knows?
Yeah, who
The
knows?
poop grenades
Who
are
knows?
actually like. If anyone's playing it, the poop grenades are very effective.
I'm
I have
sure
no
they
doubt,
are.
yeah.
They're
I'm sure
very
they
effective.
Leo, have you played it yet? Have you played any
I
of it?
fell off it pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should have just put fart in a jar in that
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah,
It makes you wonder, though. There's always been this talk about Kojima switching to movies, but it seems like the most interesting stuff in Death Stranding is all mechanics. Like nobody is attaching to that story, really.
It's certainly an interesting one. Well, thank you for that one. That's an interesting thing.
I'm glad we got to talk about that. In
Yeah,
this
we kind of.
sequence.
Yeah, no, I'm glad we did too. That was that. It's always. I'll tell you this. That's the thing is, like I said, it's a game of 2019 because it's just fun to make fun of. It's fun to talk about. Like it's like I've never had a conversation about Death Stranding that I did not enjoy. So there's definitely that.
More than the game, probably.
Well, since you kind of got, well, I mean, like I said, I will probably try again, but I have tried 2 or 3 times and bounced off pretty quickly. And I'm not done. I'll try again. I do feel like I'm missing out on something. Like, you guys really talk it up.
Yeah, I love it. I know,
You know,
I'm a uniquely big defender of the game.
Actually, I don't think you're that unique. I mean, like, that sounds like I'm being an ass, but like, I think there's a lot of people there's a lot of people that really like the game. Like you're not alone. There are a lot of people that really like the game, and a lot of people I respect, including yourself, are saying like it's their game of the year, and like that's where I put it back on me and say like, what am I missing?
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Turns out not every game's for every person, and that's
very
okay
true.
too.
That's very,
great.
very true.
It's very true. So since we kind of got you both in that same kind of segment,
Yeah, skip me.
Leo,
Do you guys want to talk about Crackdown 3?
I do.
you got a great crowd for that. Actually,
Yeah. I don't make excuses for that game. You know, people dumped on it. You know, it's certainly not the Crackdown 3 we expected, but I think it's genuinely extremely fun to play. The controls are super tight. Combat is fun, and the setup is kind of interesting. You have that one big boss in the center of the city, like Breath of the Wild or something, and then the more you take out small bosses, the more it helps you in that encounter, but you can just take it on from the start.
Yeah.
Did you ever try that?
No, I didn't.
I didn't either.
I was too scared.
Yeah.
But really fun platforming. Like, honestly, one of the best platformers of the year.
I think that was my favorite part of it was the challenges to ascend the like not the satellites but the
Yeah, the
Those
towers.
towers.
the towers.
yeah.
Yeah, I think those were some of the strengths of that game.
Yeah, definitely.
the strengths of the first game.
Yeah.
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 And I think that's, on some level, I understand the idea of like wanting this game to jump forward a little more or make more progress. But on some level, like I have really fond memories of that original Crackdown. And this really harnessed those for me again. Like it's accessible, explosive action, some fun platforming, that sense of exploration, going for those, trying to find those green orbs all over the place, and that sense of like, I can't get up there right now,
But
but
I'll
maybe
get there.
later,
Yeah.
or maybe I can get up there now if I like jump up this building and go over the, like, I don't know, I had a great time with that game.
Yeah, and not to be negative about it. That's where my frustration came in too, because I was having so much fun in those platforming sections, but then like it would like the polish wasn't there for it to like land every time. So I felt like I was getting like I was like I know I made that jump, and then I was just go topple down. And there was also some
The
production.
old, I made that jump.
It's the game who's bad.
Not me.
That computer cheated again.
Because I'm the same with you guys. I love the first game, and I think I got every orb in the second game. Don't know why, but I think I was one of those people expecting and hoping for that leap, and it didn't happen for me. But yeah, like it was like good like junk food. Like it was good. It was like going to Cane's and getting like something that is bad, but it also like tastes really good. And because I played it over a weekend, I tried the multiplayer and I was like, oof. We'll keep it to the single player.
True.
Yeah.
It was also on Game Pass, and I got a coupon for it, so I got to play through it for $2.
Oh wow, that's bang for your
nice.
buck then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't have to live up to much for me.
Though it is weird that the big thing they came out of the gate with, like their first big reveal of this game, apart from that trailer, was the destructible environment stuff, and then having that sort of restricted to the multiplayer mode, did seem weird. And I still think that's I think that's one of the reasons the game caught some of the criticism that it did, is like to set that expectation early and then to sort of back off of it.
For
sure.
I think is disappointing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Do you think, Leo, and this is a weird question, this is like, but do you think the fact that you essentially got it with Game Pass, that it removed all those expectations, that you like it more because those expectations in exchange of cash were removed?
Yeah, I think we forget about that sometimes, but I think that's definitely true. Certainly if I'd paid $60 for it, I would have held it to higher standards. But like going in for virtually free, I had a hell of a great time.
Yeah. All right. Yeah,
Good few
interesting.
hours.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that we always like kind of face. I remember someone, I think it might have been, wrote a thing that was like, that's kind of like a game just being good enough might be the future for a lot of games, which is like I don't agree with it, but I certainly understand that kind of thought in general.
Yeah.
So I love it when two people gang up on one game. That's so great. But what do you have one, Alex, that that you'd like to bring
Actually,
up?
I'll have 3 people gang up on one game on this one.
Uh-oh.
And that is Luigi's Mansion.
Hell yes.
3.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I'm in on this one.
Yeah. So Nick and I went to see Knives Out. Last Thursday?
Yeah.
It was sometime last week.
Yeah, last week.
And how I feel about Knives Out is how I feel about Luigi's
I
Mansion.
agree completely with that.
Where it's just hold on. I love Daniel Craig in both of them. It was just there was a joy, and there was this feeling of why I love games and why I love movies in both of them. Where it's just like I wasn't like looking for plot holes. I wasn't looking for anything other than what they were giving me, and what they were giving me is just this joyful love of the genres that they are. And
Yeah, no, exactly.
and Luigi's Mansion, I feel like, doesn't try to like do anything crazy. It's just like it loves its characters, it loves its world, and it's just a joy to be in that world with all the spooky ghosts. And I smile so much when I play it, and that kind of reminds me of why I started to love games as a kid. You know, that just, I keep saying joy, but that's what it is.
Yeah, there's a. I mean, I was like, I want to play Luigi's. Do you know what I mean? And then I fired it up, and I was like, God damn you, Nintendo Magic! you were just like dropping moon dust all over me at the moment. Like I was in.
Yeah.
Like it really does things very simple, very well, and it like complicates things to the point of like really understanding and how to do them. And you're like, it's fun.
Yeah,
right.
it's just fun.
It's just fun to explore. It's fun. Like the hotel is cool. It's a kind of corny canned story in general, but you're just like, do not care. Love it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go get all those ghosts and I'm gonna track it all down. I mean, they really just they bring it down to the base kind of emotions about games. And I'm with you. I never thought it would make my top 10.
Yeah.
And it might be top 5, top 3
Oh,
for me.
definitely.
Yeah.
It is
Most definitely.
really good.
Yeah,
It's
and-
really good.
And coming into this year, there was multiple times because I hadn't played the original Luigi's Mansion and then the second one on the DS or 3DS, wherever it was. And so I kind of was coming into this like aware of the franchise, but I hadn't played it, so it was just a treat, and it still is. I haven't beat it quite yet, but it's definitely in my top 5, top 3, like you said. And there was multiple times this year where like I was like so focused on Pokemon because I was so excited for Pokemon, and like it's close between the two on which is my favorite Switch game this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. You can't just say it's close and not answer the question. Which one's better?
Oh man.
In the I know you can't really say one game's better than the other, but like if you had to choose,
I think there was a joy I also felt playing Pokemon this year where I was so surprised by a lot of the character designs for the good, like in a good way, that, and being that Pokemon is one of the first games I started on, I think I would give it to Pokemon right now.
okay,
So,
all right, gotcha.
but like Luigi is, like I said, it's just fun. It's just a joy. So,
yeah, it is.
and you were the one who pushed me even further on it.
Yes,
Yeah.
I did. I was on you to play that game.
Every night we carpool. Every night we talk about the day and stuff like that. Or like when we start the day, and Nick's like, "So you played Death Stranding? Nope. Have you played Luigi's Mansion? Nope." And he just keeps like, "Well, you got to keep playing." You're like, just every day you just keep pushing. So
He had an agenda.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's going to get you through.
yeah,
So you guys haven't played it. Leo or Joey have played that yet?
Nope.
I haven't played the first two, so I wouldn't know what's going on in the story.
Yeah.
there's a lot of callbacks. Yeah,
I hear it's kind of like Kingdom Hearts. You really need to be
Yeah,
in
you
the
really, you really got to be
18-hour YouTube video to get you through.
Yeah.
Have you
It's just 18 hours of
Mario? Okay. That's I'm excited for that game. So Nick, back to you. So you got anything? Maybe not as big and well known
Yeah,
as anything off the beaten path.
I do have. Let's see. I have 2 that come to mind that are a little bit off the beaten
Okay,
path.
you're allowed to cheat a little bit.
I'll cheat a little bit because so one of them is not. It got a lot of passive reviews, and I get it. It's not like it has a lot of annoying.
What is it?
I'll just go to Rage 2. Anyone play
Okay.
Rage 2?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for sure.
This is one game we actually haven't talked
We
about.
haven't talked
That's
about it.
crazy.
That's why I thought I'd bring it up.
Yeah.
As I said in my bio, I am a huge shooter fan, and I grew up playing, a lot of '90s shooters like Duke Nukem and things like that. And Rage 2 is like the best '90s shooter that was turned into an open world. Like I think the combat, the enemies, all of it is just delightful. And if you go around, like a lot of reviews complain that the campaign is really short, but all the side areas in that game feel uniquely designed, and they're very intricately detailed. And it's a pity that the story sucks. The story is awful. The characters are just the worst. Like there isn't anything redeemable about it. And it's really surprising because of how detailed a lot of the places are, and how creative so many of the enemies are. Like there's this whole group of like. I don't know if any of you saw the show on Netflix, like Love, Death, and Robots, or whatever. That
I did watch that. Yeah, it's a collection of animations.
Yeah, there's an episode of like farmer mechs.
Oh yeah,
There's an entire.
That's my favorite one.
Yeah, there's an entire enemy group that are those guys, and they're just awesome.
Yeah.
And you have to shoot them, you can't destroy the mechs. You shoot them directly, and you get all these like wacky guns and powers. And you go through just this delightfully detailed world, and it's all very well designed, and it just has a terrible story, but it's a lot of fun to play.
So, I mean, like, obviously, I think that's one of those things, like, I'd always be like, even the original Rage, when I went and saw it for the first time, I was like, yeah, not ever. And then I was like, hey, do you want to play it? And I played it, and you're like, God, it is so good at making guns just like, they feel good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they're really good at that. And you're like, I assume that's a big part of the selling point when you talk about it's got that kind of classic feel that Rage 2, all the weapons feel great.
It all feels really good, yeah.
So what went wrong here? Right? Like I mean, it can't just be just a bad story that went wrong.
I think that was a big piece of it. I think the other piece is that I would say the campaign is the least interesting aspect of the game.
So multiplayer is better, or just cruising around the open world and just causing trouble?
Just cruising around the open world and doing the side missions in those areas, because it's all these little mini zones, and those zones are way more interesting from a level standpoint than like the main campaign levels. And so I think if you like, when I looked at a lot of reviews, a lot of people said, "Oh, okay, I beat the game in like 5 hours," and they just went through the campaign, and it's very bland. Most of the campaign missions remind me of like the ending level of Rage 1, which just was awful.
Yeah.
And the other thing,
Spoilers.
and the other piece of it is that all the like great guns in the game and the powers that augment those guns are optional, and you find them by exploring the world. And so I think it's possible a lot of people missed out on the best guns and powers. Like there's a gun you get called the gravity dart, where you shoot an enemy with it, and then you like shoot any wall or the person, and it pulls them together, and you just cause an insane amount of explosive damage with that one. And then there's like this gun that's a lot like the Ripper and Duke Nukem, but like modernized. That shoots like energy beams, and it just obliterates people. And like you get all these like you get almost like force powers that just blend beautifully with the guns, and I think all but one are optional. So yeah, I think they made some poor design choices in keeping like the best parts of it away from players.
So we find ourselves doing what we did with Rage 1, which is the next one. They're finally going to pull all these things together and finally get what's great about it to go through.
Third time's a charm.
Yeah, I mean, I admit, when I saw it at E3 the last time before it launched, so it would have been what, E3, was it last year or the year before? I can't remember. But I saw it, I was like, that looks amazing. Like, I mean, just looks like with adding the open world and having that tight gunplay, I was like, I'm going to be totally all in on this. And then as we got to the review portions of it, I was like, or less. But you're saying play it anyway. It's worth it.
It's
Get
worth
out
it.
there.
It just came out on Game Pass, I think, as well. So it's totally worth, picking up and trying it out. I'd say if you go in with the expectation of, a really well-crafted shooter and just expect that, don't expect it to, linger in your mind after that or anything, and you're not beholden to the campaign, you have a lot of fun.
All right. Excellent. Joe, Juba.
So this one, I feel like I'm gonna do one real quick and then an actual entry.
He tried to do two
I
as
tried
well.
to as well,
I
and it
cut him
went
off.
Okay, well, let's see if you
Joe's
want
like,
to cut
I'm
me
a
up.
pro. Watch how I do it.
The game I played the most this year, hour count wise, is Dragon's Dogma on Switch.
which was already out,
It was already out on
but you want to get it out
last
there.
generation. Came out again on PS4, but then it came to Switch this year, and I just got back into it and played it a lot. I love that game. I want them to make a sequel. I played it a ton.
Yeah, and you brought that up on our previous podcast about how much you like.
Yeah,
Dragon.
I probably have. I ring that bell a lot.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's great. I
But-
mean, and but that's a
That's
good
like,
addition to a year, but it's not really a 2019 game.
Exactly. The game, the more obscure game that I would champion this year is Judgment on PS4,
Yes, indeed.
which is from the Yakuza studio. Except, so it's like it takes place in that same part of town, right? That same Kamurocho, except it is a standalone story. So it does not have sort of all those tethers going off in other directions about, the lore, things that happened with other characters before, or that happened to other characters in the future, all that stuff. It was for me, as someone who's put a little bit of time into Yakuza, but hasn't really jumped in because it's sort of an intimidating prospect.
Yeah.
This was a great entry point for me. Like, I got into it. It's a detective game, which I love detective stuff.
Wow.
So-
it's got Juba. You sure it's not called Juba? Jujubit?
And he used to be an attorney, and I love attorney
Yeah.
stuff also. So it's this, but he also knows martial arts, which is also cool. So
We weren't going to say
Sounds
also
like a
Juba.
70s
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
So he basically you're the detective Yagami who is like just trying to solve a murder, but of course it expands, the scope of it expands, and all these other like Yakuza clans get involved, and there's I'm not gonna spoil it all, but it's a great way to engage with that city, to see sort of what's appealing about the sort of Yakuza style formula. And it's just got a fun, crazy combat system. It's got a bunch of cinematic moves where you're picking up bicycles and just smashing people unconscious with them, and so much fun with it.
I mean, that series, Yakuza is they've stuck to it, and they have really like changed perceptions, and really it's amazing what they've done with that series, from its kind of slower start to where it is now. It's really moved on.
And for people who've played a lot, one of the complaints I've read about Judgment is if you've played Yakuza games, it's going to feel like a lot of the same. But I guess my recommendation on the other side of the spectrum is if you haven't played a lot of Yakuza games and you just want to see what it's about,
this is the one.
this is I found this to be a great entry point to that style of game. Because for me, as someone who's I tend to really get into stories in games. It bothers me when I feel like I'm missing something, when there are pieces of the puzzle missing. So for Yakuza, it's I have to start at the beginning and work my way through to the end, which is a 600-hour project.
Yeah.
Or I can just play this one little standalone game and get a little taste of it, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good story, Joe.
Yeah.
Good story, Joe. Leo.
You guys want a really weird one?
Yes.
I mean, I think that's what the people are clamoring for.
Yeah, weirder. Transport Tycoon, which is a GTA 5 mod I got into this year.
Whoa. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
It's one of their role-playing mods. So basically, instead of modding GTA Online, because obviously you'd get insta-banned, they do their own servers within GTA 5 single player. So it's got the animals that GTA Online doesn't have. It's got more pedestrians, and everything that's different about single player they can still have, but hosted on their own servers. And Transport Tycoon is a specific network of servers that's all about non-violent jobs. So it's people are carrying cargo around the city of
So
Los
it's like the
Santos.
trucker game.
Or
Exactly.
Death Stranding.
It's like Death Stranding, yeah, for sure.
Do you send
Pilot.
emails?
You can. There's interesting player stuff though. You have to call a paramedic. If you say I'm an airline pilot, for instance, which I am. I crash into a building. I'm unconscious on the ground, and I can wait 5 minutes to respawn, or I can call the paramedic. and the paramedic is a real player who is performing the job of paramedic, and they can drive around in an ambulance, and they come and get
awesome.
me and bring me back to life. And same with if your car breaks down, you have to call a real mechanic. But somebody, me and my friends, we got this semi stuck underneath a bridge, and so we called the mechanic and waited like 2 minutes, and then this dude in a monster truck flew off the freeway next to us and fixed our car. It was amazing.
That's incredible.
And you literally can't hurt each other. You could hit somebody with a car, but you can't. There's no guns or anything. It's like this totally different way to play GTA 5. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think they've done a lot. Like the mod community's done a lot of really cool stuff with like the things that they've done as far as like making them role play. I don't know the facts around this, but I was wondering if it was this game, and maybe it's not this particular mod. But I heard someone playing some version of GTA where they were like they made the bullets be super expensive, so it's like that old joke that like don't ban guns, just make bullets be like $7,000. So you're like, you really got to kill that. Or like, you really got to want to kill the, like, to be like, you think twice, if it's $7,000 a bullet, you're like, I don't know, but like, and they had that mod for GTA. So it was like everyone had access to guns, but you had to be really, really mad at someone to want to go after them in that kind of role play space. And I think that's funny, like not having weapons at all is another way to do that. It's crazy how some of those like spins on something so familiar can really change the world. And that's you don't get stories like a guy drove up in a monster truck.
That we called.
Did you call too often?
Dislodge this semi.
Yeah, that's different. Well, we like wacky. Good addition.
That is
Thank you.
wacky.
That's
yeah.
Transport Tycoon. You played in the 5M client for GTA 5.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. All right, Alex.
Well, I don't know how I can follow that.
Well, there you
Make
go.
something up.
Yeah.
Make up a whole new game.
There you
No
go.
one
On
else
the
will call you out.
on the spot. I'm gonna go on the opposite side of that spectrum. I'm gonna talk about. It's weird to say Gears of War is underrated in just like in gaming, but I really feel like Gears 5 was underrated this year. It told one of my favorite Gears stories. I love Kate. And I really like what they did with JD's character, and I won't defend some of the semi-open world stuff. It was okay. It wasn't my favorite, but I love how they've taken the story, and I think when you compare it to something like Halo that hasn't really hit the mark in 4 and 5, I think Gears really has knocked it out of the park with a lot of these characters, and on top of that, I think the multiplayer is some of the best it's ever been. And that also could be biased because I was awful at Gears 1, 2, and 3 multiplayer. So,
But you're good now, so it's good.
It's great. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. But I think they have opened it up to with their ranked playlists and stuff like that. I mean, that's not new, but I feel like it's more accessible for everyone. So I don't feel like I'm getting my butt kicked every time I log on. And I feel like it came out, it got its 8.5s, and people are like, "Yep, this is great." And then we just kept moving on. But I think it deserves a little bit more time in the sun.
I think it's a great point. And I think that is the one consistent thing from someone who, like, if you talk to someone who sat down and played through the whole game, they're almost all, I've never heard anybody say a negative report. Like, they had a great time.
Yeah.
Like, it was a good, solid game. Has, there's, like every game, you can complain about something.
Yeah.
But that it was good. I certainly, I have not gotten a chance to play that, but sounds good.
Yeah.
I mean, did you have to play Gears 4 to understand it? Or
Definitely, yeah, because 4 introduces the new crew. But I like, to me, it feels natural in that world. Whereas, like, not to keep knocking on Halo, but it's like, all right, it's Master Chief. What are we gonna do with him? This feels like a natural thing where it's like, okay, what would these characters live on and do? I think I would have liked to see a different enemy type than just like kind of Locust 2.0, but I think the soul of it is in the right place, and I really like that series. I like what they've done with the last 2.
That's daunting to me, much like Joe with that. Is that like when Judgment happened, I was like, I quit.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? I'd played 1, 2, 3, and I finished them all, and I was all in, and that kind of like threw me off, and I haven't been able to get back on the train. And when you're like, to get on this train, you need to have done 4. Like that's a lot.
Yeah.
To kind of get on. And I think Reiner told me the same thing. He was like, "No, if you're gonna like 5, you need to you need to have done this."
Well, and that's just one of the downfalls, I think, of some of these long-running series, Gears, which started at the end or at the beginning of the last generation.
Yeah.
It's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you played them? Like, have you been a fan of the series or no?
No, I played the first one.
Yeah.
That was enough for me.
Yeah. And that was the thing I didn't love too, was like they build this as kind of a spiritual successor to one in the horror aspects. Because I loved, like, there was some genuine, like, scary moments in one.
Yeah,
with
for sure.
the introduction of the krill and stuff like that. And they kind of build it like it was going to be that, and I just didn't find that at all.
Yeah.
So not that was a bad thing. It succeeded in what the game actually set out to be. I'd love to go back into a really gritty, even like more horror Gears of War.
Gotcha.
But yeah, go play Gears 5.
All right. It's our last entry, Nick. You have the honors.
Oh.
Do you have one? You said you had two, and I
had-
cut you off.
You did, but Rage was a little bit more to say on that than I expected. One game I wanted to give a little shout out to. I haven't finished it, so I don't feel comfortable like saying like, oh, okay, this is amazing, as people say. But I really like Days Gone. Jeff has really talked that up in the office. So on Black Friday, I decided, okay, I'll give it a shot. Got it for $20.
And by the way, I had numerous emails come in that said people picked it up on Jeff's recommendation and started playing it on that same Black Friday kind of deal. So that's good. I like that it got people out there to go check things out.
I really like it a lot. I've probably put in like 8 to 10 hours so far, and it definitely has some clunky bits in its story presentation. But the gameplay, I think, is fantastic. I think one of the things the game didn't do well in how it presented itself is it's really an RPG, I think, at heart. Like, the combat doesn't really sing immediately because you have to kind of level up and get some better upgrades and armaments. And it has this great sense of progression. And there's a real sense of player creativity and how you approach the game. There's so many awesome avenues to enter all the different zones. And you get a ton of, like, even just early, and like I'm still fairly early on, you get a ton of really cool armaments, and like you get if you take out a nest of the zombies, you can get this residue you can put on your bolts, and you use it, and it turns enemies on each other. And in a lot of games, they will give you something like that, but it never really works that well. In this, it really does, and it's like really gratifying. You can use it to distract the zombies. Like, you have a horde coming at you, you hide, you shoot one of them with it. They get into like a big rabble, and you just run. Or you can
Get on your bike and ride.
Yeah, you just ride. And the bike controls really well, and there's great upgrades to it. So yeah, I think it's a lot of fun, a really player creative focused gameplay. And and I like the protagonist. He's a unique and I like him for that.
Well, that's awesome. Well, that's a great addition to the discussion. So, thank you all again. I think I'm going to get one more of these in, maybe two, but we're nearing the end.
Yeah.
Only so much a year left.
There's only so much of a year left. But it's been, I've really enjoyed these talks. They've really been a lot of fun. I love hearing everybody's perspective on all these games, and especially what makes them special to them. It's just, it's what I love about games. And so thank you all for coming on this segment. And thank you, everyone, for listening. That's a show. Make sure you get your feedback in at podcast@gameinformer.com. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Like it, follow it, do the bell thing on
Smash that subscribe
YouTube.
button.
Share it on the Twitters and
Maybe we should let
on the
Leo handle
MySpace.
this part.
should I not do this? Am I bad at this? Is this something? I don't know. But
Leo, cut the feed.
if you like the show, help us out. Let people know you enjoy the show. Let them know that there's this thing that goes way too long where these idiots talk about games way too long. Please share it. Let people know. We really appreciate it. It's very helpful to us. And thank you very much. It was another fun show this week, and we'll see you next week.